This is Mason Alexander Park, and you are listening to the Quantum Leap Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Quantum Leap Podcast, Quantum Leap Aftershow. Wow, we just saw the first episode of the new Quantum Leap series. Some would say Season 6, Episode 1.
Or maybe Quantum Leap the Next Generation, perhaps?
Perhaps. I think it'll be good. We didn't get a send-off from Old Bones, but we got some images of our team that we're used to. I'm Albie.
And look, we really should address the elephant in the room. You can call me either Sir or Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor. That's my friend Hayden McQueenie. You might know him from Quantum Leap fandom. He's always out there doing a lot of stuff for our social medias, and he's just
the professional stalker, whatever you want to call me.
Professional stalker, producer. He gets us a lot of guests for our podcast. Him and Juan Muro. And we have a great show tonight. We're going to be talking all about episode 1 of season 1 or season 6 of the new Quantum Leap. And it's called July 13th, 1985. And it's not just us. We have guests. We have 4 interviews today. We have Leo Suh, who played Ben's friend that's at the anniversary party. He's the first person on screen to have dialogue, which is pretty cool. Because there's some dialogue before that but there's like a saga cell and a little off-camera narration from the character we'll talk about more later. And we have the girl who played Caroline, Ryan's daughter in this episode, Miley Dudek, and that'll be coming up soon.
Rennie did that one, didn't she?
Serenity did that. That's her first official interview for the Quantum Leap podcast. Of course, she's a YouTuber extraordinaire. She's got more followers than almost anybody I know. Allison has more. But she was able to do the interview for us. I figured that would be cool because they're both the same age. So they had a lot to talk about, and that's
there's no way Rennie is that old yet. No,
10.
Not fair.
I don't know how it happened.
Double
a whole
digits,
decade went
no,
by.
I don't believe it.
Yeah, it just happened not too long ago. We had her 10th birthday at Disney World. It was fun.
We're Quantum Leap fans. We're supposed to understand the passage of time, but no, I don't get it.
I'm unstuck in time. So sometimes I'm like, just how did it happen? So anyway. And then we have the gentleman who played the, I guess, jewelry forger that made the false Hope Diamond. And that was the guy who played Horace. His name is Don Estrada. He's a Romanian actor, and he was awesome to talk to. So we got him coming up. And for our main event,
subtitles?
He says it in English, most of it. We did ask him to speak a little Romanian, which he did. Oh, he was very intriguing. Can't wait to see that. And our big get for this first Quantum Leap after show is none other than the hologram from Quantum Leap. Ben's observer, Addison, played by Caitlin Bassett. She will be here. Let me just tell you, she was giving, kind, and amazing to all of us. And I was lucky enough to sit in on the whole interview.
Wow.
So we got a good show. But before we get to those interviews, which are coming, we're going to talk a little bit about this episode. Hayden, July 13th, 1985. What are your first thoughts?
Really original title.
It kind of confused me. I was like, is that the temp title? Is this just when it takes place? What's going on? But that's the title they went with. So what are your thoughts?
If the first episode of Quantum Leap was Genesis, couldn't they call this the Second Coming or something like that? I don't know.
The secret of Genesis. Give me the secret of Genesis.
Well, before we start, I don't know if you've noticed in the background here, I've got a couple of my special, unique Quantum Leap items that I thought you might want to have a look at. I wasn't able to be there for the Quantum Leap podcast's show and tell, so I wanted to show off a couple of these things. So the first one, I know a lot of people aren't very happy about Scott Bakula not being the Leaper, but you might like this one a little bit more. Nicolas Cage.
Wow, Nicolas Cage as Sam Beckett. I would have watched that.
Yeah.
It would have been different. A lot more insect eating.
Yeah. On the back it says, theorizing the one could travel within his own acting career. Nicholas Coppola stepped into the Quantum Lead accelerator, not Quantum Leap, Quantum Lead accelerator, and vanished. He awoke to find himself known as Nick Cage, facing accents that were not his own, driven by an unknown force to change film history for the better. And so Nicolas Cage finds himself leaping from part to part, striving to put right what once went wrong, and hoping that his next lead will be the lead home. And on the back here, you can see him in a few of his roles.
Oh, wow.
With some boys.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, I don't even know where I got this from. It's just something that happened to show up somewhere along the way. It's something that's fan-made, but I just couldn't resist when I saw it.
How could you not? So, how could you not get that?
Yeah,
that's pretty
exactly.
awesome.
And this one is something that I really love.
Wow.
Yeah, this is called The Spagyric Eye. I hope I'm saying that right. It's a book of artworks by none other than the late, great Dean Stockwell. And what I love on the inside, it's been sworn to its authenticity. He's initialed it.
Wow, so that's him, Robert Dean Stockwell.
Yeah. So his son, who sold me the book, swears to the authenticity of the autograph. I wish I wish that he'd signed it properly, but still, it's proof that it was in Dean Stockwell's hands. So,
wow. So somewhere his epithelial cells are on there.
Yeah.
So you may be able to clone him one day. Yeah.
Well, let's hope. Damn it. Maybe we've mixed our DNA now. That would be an awesome kid, though.
There's some breaking news. Did you see what Scott Bakula said on... I saw it on Instagram. I don't know where else he shared it.
Yeah, Instagram, Twitter. It was all over all the Facebook groups today as well.
Ooh, can you read that for us?
See if I can. Yeah, once I find it. Hang on.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, there's so much crap here from the group. Hang on. Okay. So this was something posted by Scott Bakula today. So this is aging the podcast a little bit, but whatever. To Quantum Leap fans around the world, in an effort to quiet the rumors and move on. First of all, thanks for hanging around through the decades. Here's the simple version of what's going on with the Quantum Leap reboot and me. He calls it a reboot, even though it's not. Doesn't matter. I have no connection with the new show, either in front of the camera or behind it. In January, the pilot was sold and a script was sent to me because the character of Sam Beckett was in it, which makes sense, right? And as so many of you have been asking me over the last several months, how could you do Quantum Leap without Sam, or Al for that matter? Well, I guess you're about to find out. That's the story. As the show has always been near and dear to my heart, it was very difficult to pass on the project, a decision that has upset and confused so many fans of the original series. However, the idea of anyone leaping around in time and walking a mile in someone else's shoes remains a very appealing concept and so worthy of exploration, especially given the current state of mankind. In that spirit, I'm crossing my fingers that this new cast and crew are lucky enough to tap into the magic that propelled the original Quantum Leap into the hearts and minds of generations past and present. I wish them good luck and happy leaping, SB. Scott Bakula. Or Sam Beckett.
Ooh, both. So, wow, yeah. Thoughts on that? I have thoughts. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, judging by some of the responses from the fans today after reading that, I don't think he could get any more direct, but people are still saying it's very vague. It's like, Scott Bakula, I'm not in the series. The fans, oh, he's being very vague about that. Maybe he'll show up later on.
So you're saying there's a chance?
Well, Ernie Hudson's said many times that the invitation is out there for Scott to appear. I think, what is it? There's a 16 episodes booked for this run, and then the possibility of another 9 if they
12
if it's popular enough. Sorry,
it's 12 right now, and depending on the numbers, the first few weeks, that's if we hear about a pickup or not. So here's what I know. Scott Bakula said that Sam Beckett appears in the script that he was sent. That I know to be true. I did read the original pilot script. Did you read the original pilot script yet?
No.
Okay. In that original pilot script, he does appear. And it's in a way that it's a huge reveal. So I feel that if he was just saying he's not in it to dispel rumors and then leave the surprise for the fans, I think he wouldn't have let go of that detail. Because that's basically, no, I am your father of the episode. So I think he wouldn't have said that if this was a misdirect. So I was pretty crushed and heartbroken when I read that, because up until that point, being that I did read the original script, I knew for the last few months that Scott Bakula was going to be in the show, but I couldn't say anything.
Yeah.
And then with this, it really feels like he's not going to be in the show.
We know that they did decide to change the pilot, because the pilot was originally going to be that earthquake episode, and then they've changed it to this episode about the heist of the Hope Diamond. Maybe the part of the reason that they did change it is because Scott refused, and they had to do quick rewrites of the pilot and stuff of the earthquake episode and things like that. So
I'm sure it's a contributing factor.
Most likely, yeah.
What I can say is that probably 80% of what happens back at the project headquarters in the original pilot script that would have been in the earthquake episode take place in this pilot that we just watched tonight on NBC and Peacock.
Great.
So they lifted a lot of that directly out of the script, the first pilot script, and what's going to be episode 6, and put it into this. They tweaked it slightly, but it's pretty much all there.
Yeah, I think maybe the only few things they might have needed to change might have been immediately after Ben leaps in and Addison shows up and gives him the brief explanation of how quantum leap works.
Originally, that all takes place during the earthquake, when Ben's trying to figure out where he is, who he is during the earthquake. Yeah. I can say that I spoke to Scott Bakula's agent a while ago, and he had
good old J.D. Schwartz.
J.D. Schwartz, great guy. I asked him off the record if Scott's going to be in it, and he gave me a flat-out no, he's not connected whatsoever. And it was kind of like, at the time I was thinking, well, if he was going to be in it and it was a surprise, he couldn't say yes. He couldn't tell me yes. So either way, he was going to tell me no. But the way he said no, it made me feel like, wow, maybe it really is a no. But again, I read the script, so I was like, well, I know he's in it. And I think one of the side notes in the script is, don't worry, we'll get Scott, and I'll explain later. That's exactly what it says, I think. Pretty close anyway. I'm paraphrasing. But when I read that first script, I immediately fell in love with this new version of Quantum Leap. And I mean, I got all the feels. I got emotional. I started tearing up. I was excited. I was like, woohoo! Great script. So I'm looking forward to episode 6. But the big reveal of that episode is Sam. So without Sam, it's going to be weird. And I can't imagine, I understand him passing on it. Maybe they didn't offer him enough money. Maybe they lowballed it,
It could also be too, the level of involvement they wanted from him, because I know at the time NCIS New Orleans had just finished, but he'd also just signed on to that ranch show, which unfortunately hasn't been picked up. So he's probably thought somewhere along... I'm not sure, but he's probably thought somewhere along the way, I've got this series that I'm doing. I'm probably not going to be able to be involved in Quantum Leap very much, if at all. So, and depending on the level of involvement they did want, it might have just been, no, I can't do it. So there's that possibility. There's, like you said, there's also the possibility maybe he wanted more involvement and all they wanted from him was a cameo, and he's like, no, I'm higher up than that in the food chain. I should be being offered more. I don't know. I'm just speculating things that might have happened. I'm doing the whole Ziggy thing, going through all the different scenarios. There's a 98%
chance the reason he didn't do it was, in the first script, I could say it was a cameo. It could be considered a cameo, but it was a reveal, and it seemed like it would be like the beginning of the overarching story for the season. So he would be involved in the whole thing. I don't see a world where Scott Bakula would say, he wouldn't agree to do a one-day shoot somewhere sometime, But I don't know. We'll just have to find out. All that being said, even if Scott Bakula never is part of this new incarnation of Quantum Leap, I loved it. They're doing a great job. And to me, it felt exactly like Quantum Leap as I was watching it. I got all the Quantum Leap feelings that I have when I watch Quantum Leap, even though it's not an episode that I've ever seen before, Yeah.
Oh, well, I agree with you. This was Quantum Leap. A lot of the fans, the really toxic fans, I don't even think we should call them fans, but a lot of the passers-by who complain that it's not got Scott Bakula or Dean Stockwell in it, it's not going to be Quantum Leap. No, this was written by people and produced by people who love Quantum Leap. and who know exactly what it's about and who want it to be the best that it can be. So we've seen the first episode. I think we can all be pleasantly surprised and pleased that, it is going in this direction. I'm very keen to see what's coming next. So, they've done the right things. That's not to say it's perfect. It's definitely not. There's things that I didn't like and things that I would have done differently. But at the same time, it's Don's and Deborah's baby. It's the baby of the people who are writing it. I can't remember their names now off the top of my head. Sorry.
Oh, great. Now we won't get them on the show. It's Hayden that doesn't know your names, not me. I have it written down right there.
Yeah. Well, by all means, jump in.
My main feeling after watching the pilot, besides This is Quantum Leap, was a great deal of relief, because I was worried I was going to be committed to doing shows and videos on a show that wasn't up to what I feel Quantum Leap was. But they impressed me, blew me away, and I'm all in. All right. Before we go over the show beat by beat, we got to pay some bills. Hayden, could you tell us about tonight's sponsors? Pancakes in a can.
Well, are you out in space with nothing available to eat because there's nothing available to be grown? Just open up the pantry, pull out your Campakes, which are your pancakes in a can. They'll be ready with just a tiny little drop of water. Instantly.
Thank you so much. And now with Maple Cubes.
Yes.
So thank you for Pancakes in a Can for sponsoring this first episode of the Quantum Leap After Show.
Yeah. What are we calling the after show, by the way? Were we calling it Oh Shit?
Oh Shit! I decided to go with the Quantum Leap After Show. Originally, it was going to be The Waiting Room, but there's already a podcast out there, another Quantum Leap podcast called The Waiting Room. They haven't done much, but I still didn't want to take their name.
Well, what about the imaging chamber? Because, we're talking about the images that we saw.
Maybe. Is there a podcast like that? Who knows? I'm sure by the time this airs, we'll have a title, and they would have already seen it. So you guys watching the show, let us know what the title is, and we'll go with that. Yeah,
just not anything that a porno is named after this time, please.
Oh, your segment Quantum Deep is coming up later in the show.
It is.
it is. So we'll have a Quantum Deep. For all of you Quantum Leap podcast original listeners, we have a Quantum Deep segment from our very own Hayden McQueenie. So let's talk about the show. It starts out at Ben and Addison's engagement party. The whole cast was there. How did you feel about that?
Well, this show suffered by trying to fit too much in too short a period of time. This really should have been at least a two-parter. All right, because in the space of 5 minutes, we had the party. We had to try and introduce all 5 members of the cast. Ben had to leap, and we had to get to the actual setting of the leap. There wasn't enough time to really get invested in all these characters and what was going on. I think that they were really relying on, all the original fans carrying on into this new incarnation, which is great if you're an old school fan like us. I mean, I could follow along, so could my mum when we were watching it. But I have a feeling that new people who maybe didn't see the series the first time around might be getting a little bit confused because everything was just so fast-paced. All right, what did we have? We had, like you said, the party where I think Ian told off the DJ. Ben and Addison had that nice little talk about two souls being interconnected forever and even through physics. Magic and Jen, I think, were there saying don't talk about The Office or anything like that. Apparently Ben doesn't like being in parties. And then Ben gets the text message saying, we've only got this very short window of opportunity. We don't know at the time who sends the text message. And in the space of a few seconds, Ben's at the project leaping. It's just too fast-paced.
Too much, too fast.
Too much, too fast. This really needed to be a two-parter. The first act, maybe even the first 2 acts of the first part really should have been setting up the relationships between the characters and the project and then getting into the reasons why Ben needed to leap as quickly and prematurely as he did. All right. So that's my main gripe with the episode, just the fact that there was too much too fast.
I would agree with you that it was too much all at once, and that my only thing that jarred me or bumped me about the episode was towards the end, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But I felt that the resolution to the crisis of the episode of the week just resolved itself way too quickly. And I think if they had more time, they had more room to breathe, it would have been much better. And I think a lot of that has to do with it being a network show and not streaming, because if it was streaming, it could have been an hour. It could have been 52 minutes. It didn't have to be 37 minutes, 45 minutes.
Well, even so, I don't see any reason why they couldn't do it as a two-parter. So, because they could do it in the space of 2 episodes. I know they got to do it over 2 blocks of time, but they could still do it.
I think a lot of that has to do with they have to grab all the new viewers right away, because we're going to watch it whether we like it or not, because it's Quantum Leap. But the new viewers, they have to grab them right away and get them in the middle of the story and explain everything to them that they need to know to get caught up to enjoy the story. So it was very much like Firefly episode Train Job, which was their episode that aired as a pilot that wasn't the pilot. They reshuffled them just like they did here, and it's in the middle of a heist, and just you're finding out about the characters as you go. So, but in the original pilot, we don't see the team together at all. When they filmed in Vancouver, they didn't film together at all. It joins the episode as Ben has already leapt. You're waking up pretty much with Ben waking up on his leap, and he doesn't know where he is or what's going on. So we did get more in this version where we actually do see the team together and interact, and we get that feeling of connection between Ben and Addison before it's severed. I really like the quantum entanglement part of the episode that bookended it with the beginning and end.
Yeah, and I really do like what we've seen so far of the relationship between Ben and Addison. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic. It's really something that we should have seen more in the original series with Sam and Donna. I mean, how is Addison going to react when ultimately Ben gets his F on? Because he has to be there as a thirst trap for all the lady viewers who are watching. So I'll be very interested to see how Addison reacts, especially because is it considered infidelity? To be infidelity, there has to be fidelity, which means there has to be knowledge of some sort of an agreement. If he's got no memory of it, is that contract, so to speak, still in play? That sort of thing. I'll be very interested to see how that plays out, if and when ultimately it does. We know it has to.
It has to.
Yeah.
And not just for the gentlemen. I mean, and not just for the ladies. Ben is a very attractive man, so I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people.
We knew at some point his shirt would have to get ripped open. We knew it.
Shirtless Ben, first episode. I was like, yep, got my thumbnail. Yeah. Shirtless Ben.
Well, look, Sam Beckett was shirtless pretty much from the moment that he initially leapt in Genesis. They had a whole shower scene with him, and yeah, I think that this was a good start for all the people who are going to be channel changing and trying to find something to watch for a couple of seconds.
That's got to be an awkward part of the audition. We like you, Raymond. We just need to see you without your shirt off. And then everybody leans forward. But what I can say
I wonder
about
how he went on the casting couch.
Anyway, what I really liked, speaking of that connection that Ben and Addison have, and how it's going to add to the drama of the series when he doesn't know, and but Addison knows, and he's going to have to do things.
It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
Caitlin Bassett, her acting in this episode, I really felt right away that I had made an emotional connection to her and their relationship. It evoked feelings of me like I got when Dean Stockwell would speak of maybe his sister or Vietnam or Beth, and it had that same gravitas. And when she was communicating that with Ben, and we know what Addison knows, but Ben doesn't, and it's just heartbreaking. And I felt that right away. I didn't feel like they were trying too much, and I felt the acting was absolutely perfect. Wasn't too big, wasn't too small. It was just perfect. Mm-hmm. And I think that's one of the main things that connected me immediately to this episode was that heartache and that connection and that sense of like love, but tragic love. And I just, it was good. It was good.
Yeah. And the other thing I was going to point out as well, this series, well, to start with, Ben does seem like Sam Beckett light. And I think in the long run, the series is really going to have to find ways to differentiate Ben from Sam. Because what have we got? We've got a quantum physicist who is kind of the brains behind the project, who's leaping around, who is in good shape, who can fight if he has to, that sort of stuff. It does just seem like, at least superficially, it's Sam Beckett played by a different actor. So in the long run, they are going to really need to differentiate Ben from Sam. But a way that they did that in this episode, which I do like, is that Ben does seem more flawed and more human than Sam did, especially because of the fact that he did act selfishly. He decided to go and jump into the quantum leap accelerator and leap, without telling anybody, without even acknowledging it to his fiancée, who just, a few minutes earlier he's pledged the rest of his life with, without thinking about her feelings. Or, I mean, obviously we saw at the end that he did leave her a message saying that it's something he felt he had to do. But, I think that there is more flaws and humanity in Ben than there was with Sam Beckett, which I'll be interested to see how that plays out too.
The Sam Beckett-ish aspect of the character I definitely saw when he had to decide whether or not to save somebody's life immediately or do the right thing and help everybody. And it seemed like he was being selfless because he wanted to help and he wanted to do that. So I got that same feeling that I would from Sam Beckett. But also, he's not, a jiu-jitsu expert or whatever Sam was with the roundhouse kicks. He did punch out the bad guy, but he hurt his hand. And Addison said that, no, you usually are in a T-shirt punching out some computer code. So he's not. They're already separating him from the Sam Beckett archetype, I think, a little bit, and we'll see more of that as it goes. I mean, this is just episode 1, so there's 12
having said
so
that,
far.
though, I think you've just pointed out that they are bringing in very subtly elements of the original Quantum Leap lore that fans like us would probably pick up, like the fact that he might be mind merging from the Leapee, feeling like that he can handle being in a fight. If that's not Ben's usual character, then maybe he is picking it up from the Leapee. Especially if, I don't know how true this is because we haven't watched enough, but I've heard through the grapevine that the waiting room and this idea of the people being switched during the leaps actually isn't a thing this time. It's Ben inhabiting the whole person while that person is still there. So there's a good chance that he might be able to inhabit more of the Leapee's traits as time goes on. I
didn't think of that at all when I watched it, but now that you said it, yes, 100%. Because he had this badass demeanor, especially in the towards the end in the museum. I guess they were in some kind of banquet place.
Yeah, the Museum of Modern Art, I think they said.
Oh, there you go, with the Hope Diamond.
Adding to that too, Ben didn't know he could dance. Addison said, well, you think you can, but he turned out to be quite a good dancer. He proved to be, quite suave and quite a twinkle toes when he was dancing with Charlie. And, I was also going to say too, then he might be picking up the dancing abilities from the Leapee as well.
I like the character of Charlie in this episode, but we only got to see a little bit of her, but she was good.
Yeah.
The beginning, the only other stuff I have from the beginning of the episode is Ian's pink suit. I absolutely loved it. I thought they looked amazing. I was like, wow, they're going to take over right where Al Calavici left off, and they're going to be the fashionista of the
We
series.
do need a really flamboyant character. I'll give you that.
But when I saw Mason Alexander Park as Ian, I thought, perfect. This is perfect. This is perfect. Yes. Love it. Immediately on board for their character. Jen's character in this episode was a little just laid back, relaxed, chill. I'm not sure if that was on purpose or what they're trying to do with that.
Well, do you want to maybe talk about each of the main 5 characters? Because I did have some notes about each.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds
Yeah.
good. Why don't we do that after our first interview? Our first
That'd be
interview, one of the hosts of the Quantum Leap podcast and author of Beyond the Mirror Image, The Observer's Guide to Quantum Leap, Dr. Quantum Leap himself, Matt Dale, conducted this interview with Leo Suh. He plays Ben's friend at the engagement party, and he welcomes us into the world of Quantum Leap, basically, with a type of a POV shot, and you'll see it here in a little bit. So this is the interview Matt Dale did with Leo Suh.
Hi, I'm Matt Dale. Welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast. I'm very excited today to be hosting the latest of our interviews with the cast and crew of the new series of Quantum Leap. I have with me here today Leo Suh, who is going to be in the first episode of the new series, playing a character which I'm sure he's going to tell us all about, and we'll be having a good discussion with him about that, and also about his career to date. So, Leo, welcome, and thank you so much for your time joining us here on the podcast.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Firstly, what can you tell us about the character? Because we're recording this a couple of weeks before it airs. I don't know anything about this character, so what can you share to help me along?
So I play Raymond's friend, or Dr. Ben's friend, former friend. So I met him in the military, or I'm a former military man. So I'm at his engagement party celebrating with him, and I'm with my wife. We just...
Great. So you're in the sort of the present day or near future or whatever of the project time. You're not
present day.
Present day. Okay, great.
There's so many time loops. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. It's part of the joy of Quantum Leap. You never know when you're involved in it, where or when you're going to be.
Yes.
But yeah, so you get to be part of an engagement party. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me a bit about how you got the part, how you first came to be involved in the show.
I got the audition through my agent. It was actually the script that I got was just one line, just "Congratulations, Ben." But it's weird because it's just one-liners are actually harder than having like a whole script, because you're just like, how am I going to say it? And you just think too much. But I gave them 2 different takes, and I guess they obviously liked it. When I got to set, they gave me a new script, and it was actually more than just "Congratulations, Ben." So I was just like, oh, okay. It was really cool that I got more lines.
Fantastic.
But yeah, definitely. And the director, David, he was awesome. He worked with us really well, and yeah, he gave us he gave us pointers what to do. Yeah.
I'm always interested. I mean, you mentioned about the fact, it's difficult to kind of create that character around one line. Did you go in there with any kind of a backstory or sort of extra bits to fill in the blanks?
Yeah, definitely. I actually have a friend named Ben, so I just put him in my mind and congratulating him on his engagement. And we were supposed to be at a party, and he was supposed to be this hip friend with music going on. So I just kind of, bobbed my head and congratulated him, and my wife's next to me. So, I just looked at her and kind of like just dancing with her a little bit. Imaginary wife next to me.
Yeah. Great. Did you, you mentioned that the director was really, David, was that?
David McWhirter, yes.
Did you get to work much with the regular cast? Obviously,
yes.
Got to interact with Raymond.
Yes. So the first episode, it was actually, even they were surprised and happy because it was all of them together in one place, finally filming together. Yeah, so they were all excited to see each other. But because of that, it took a very long time to film that episode, because it was all of them together in one room.
Yes. And I guess that's going to be another thing about the new series with Raymond separated off from everyone else. Those moments of everyone being together are going to be quite rare.
Exactly.
Did that feeling of camaraderie come across in the fact that you're there for a celebration, an engagement party? Did you feel that at all?
Oh yeah, definitely. And more than that, it was when we were rehearsing and stuff, and we had a lot of downtime. We were talking, and they were explaining to us that it was their first time together, and it was just this really exciting moment. So it was really good to be a part of that, and they were all extremely nice, and learned a lot of stuff from them.
Oh, it's good to hear. It's always nice to hear that the leads are kind of nice people. And I know they'd obviously gone and done the episode in Vancouver, so they've been working on the show a bit already. But if this was their first time on screen together, it's a big moment to be a part of.
Oh yeah.
Are you particularly familiar with the original series?
Not really, because I was actually born in Brazil, and I came here when I was like 6. So I think when I got here, I think it was like 1993 when I got here. And that's when it stopped. So,
yes.
And I was only like, 6 years old?
Probably a little young for it then at that point, yeah. And then
just missed it, but
in permanent syndication since. But okay, all right. I might move on a little bit from Quantum Leap, if I may. I have to fanboy a little bit because I obviously did a bit of research before this interview. I checked out Xijang yesterday.
Okay.
I loved it. It was such a great little film. And I apologize if I'm springing this on you because you're expecting a chat about Quantum Leap, but I'd love to hear some more about that because I noticed you were in it, obviously, and you also got writing and production credit. Can you tell me a bit more about the background of that as well?
Yes, it was for HBO. I think I forgot, it was a 48 or 24 hour or 48 hour. It was like a short film contest. And me and my group of friends were just like, hey, why don't we do this? Let's try it out. And then just from scratch, we were just like, okay, well, let's think of an idea and everything. And then we got like the director and writer friends to help us out. And it was all of our first time doing our own project. So it was very exciting and challenging at the same time. But we had a lot of actor friends to help us out. So we put it together. Luckily, at that time, my friend had his own restaurant. So I asked him if he could borrow his restaurant.
Perfect.
And then my other friend who had his office, a warehouse, we used his warehouse. And it all just kind of, came along like together perfectly. And it was great.
Yeah, you mentioned 24 hours, as in this was a 24-hour challenge, or?
Yeah, I think it was 24-hour challenge. Yes, it was one of those HBO challenges. I forgot, it's been too long.
But this was actually filmed in a compressed period of time. I assume it was just filmed over a period of months, and maybe you were going back to different. Oh wow! Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We had to rush everything. Just like
It doesn't show. It's a very polished little piece. It's on Vimeo, so we'll post a link to it as part of the release on YouTube because I think everyone should see it. It's a really lovely piece and the performances are great. Really really great to know more about that. I did notice as well you have done a few short films. Is there something about that kind of art form that appeals to you? Do you specifically aim for short films?
No, like for beginners, like you have to kind of pursue that also. Like there's to get an agent and like it's like a building up your resume. So short films definitely was like my gateway to, getting a better agent and manager and then leading up to yeah. So
that was definitely the kind of feeling I got from Xijang. It was a lovely story, but also it showcased the performances of everyone individually. I did feel like it was almost like that, but in a really good way. Yeah. Great. Okay. And do you have any upcoming projects that you'd like to tell us about?
Yeah. It's going to be called Emerald, I believe, on Netflix, but right now I think they're calling it Griselda Blanco. It's about Griselda, the cocaine godmother, who's played by Sofia Vergara. And that will be, I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out, but either end of this year or early next year.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
I play one of the cops. So it was actually exciting because it's part of the Narcos and Narcos Mexico, like the scene.
Yeah.
I've never seen any Asian because it's all, like Latinas, Hispanic, Colombians.
Yeah.
But I was surprised and I was super blessed to be part of that. And yeah, it was amazing experience. And yeah, the director, Andreas Weiss, he was amazing. Like, I think one of the most, like humble director I've ever met.
Fabulous. We'll definitely we'll look out for that. All right, so you say you're obviously you have this history with Ben, so you've got a friendship with him. Can we assume perhaps that your character might recur when we're seeing maybe more of the future, maybe more flashbacks to the future? Do you think you'll be back?
I was actually talking with Raymond about that, but because of the whole quantum leap and loop, most likely I won't be. But depending on, who knows? You never know, but most likely not.
Okay. Well, we hear there's going to be a lot more set in the future than there was. The original series was all very much set in the past. They seem to be doing more in the future, so we'll keep our fingers crossed.
Definitely.
Be good to see you back.
Yeah, I mean, everyone was amazing. Like Nanrisa, I learned so much from her, and then Raymond. Everyone was very accommodating, and they taught me a lot of stuff. Like being on set before, like they even were like landed this part, like how they struggled and everything. It was, the stories were all really great. Learned a lot from them. Very humbling.
Thank you so much for spending some time with us talking about your experience. Definitely feel like I've got more of an insight now into what that first episode is going to be about, or what that scene's going to be about. Lovely to hear your recollections, and really good to hear that you've got some upcoming projects as well and some work that we can keep an eye out for. As I say, as a new fan of Xijang, I'll be making sure that Vimeo link goes in the comments. Everyone should check that out. And thank you again for your time. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we will be having loads more interviews coming up over the next couple of months with different members of the cast and crew. Thank you again, Leo. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, Matt.
Cheers.
And we're back. Yes, that was a great interview with Leo Suh. He was very charming, very forthcoming, and very beautiful. I don't know if you noticed that.
Hey, I do have eyesight. I've got 4 of them,
I should have 4.
And that was great too, about him actually being given more lines than he'd expected. That would be a really nice surprise if you were working in the business, I think.
I think that means that they liked him. And, he's a very, very charming guy, very nice guy. And he was one of the first people to give us an interview from the first episode. So thank you very much, Leo, and I look forward to your future work. And
also, well done, Matt Dale. That's your very first interview that we've gotten, and I think you're a natural.
Yeah, it was funny. I was the technical producer on that interview, and he thought he was so nervous, and he thought he wasn't going to be any good, but he was just great. He was natural, so... Thank you, Matt, for interviewing Leo, and thank you, Leo, for being on the show. And so now, Hayden, we were going to talk about the characters. Let's go through the characters a little bit, and we'll talk about them. Who do you want to start with?
Yeah. We may as well start with. We may as well start at the top. We'll start with Ben. Yeah, as I said, with Ben, the only major issue that I have is that he comes across a little bit like Sam Beckett light. We really do need to see, as time goes on, the differentiation between him and Sam Beckett, but we can see that his heart is in general in the right place. He's doing what he's doing for some sort of greater purpose. We don't exactly know what that is yet. I have my theories. Stick around for Quantum Deep. He also does obviously have flaws. He shouldn't have done what he did without discussing it with Addison. So I really do think that we're going to see Quantum Leap, but not exactly the same Quantum Leap as we had seen in the past. And that's a good thing. The show does need to grow and evolve. So seeing that through another generally quintessentially good character, but with some flaws, some humanity who we can actually relate to, I think is going to work out quite well in the long run. All right, what are your thoughts about Ben?
I really liked him. To me, he was different than Sam. More... I don't know how to say this, macho maybe, which is weird to say more macho than Scott Bakula or Sam Beckett. but just different, like more like he mentioned in an interview, he likes playing like some kind of basketball sports game, where Scott Bakula was more of a theater guy, So I see that like toughness. Ben, I hadn't watched Kevin Can himself yet, so I didn't really know anything about Raymond Lee because I didn't want to get influenced by the other characters he's played for this character. But his voice surprised me. It was more like like a Brooklyn accent or something different going on than I expected. I expected more of like a English thespian voice or something. But
he does have that nice sort of soft, breathy tones that are a little higher in the more tenor register than maybe say someone like Ernie Hudson's Magic, who is much deeper, So it's nice, and that is also something very Sam-like, that same sort of tenor in his voice. But nothing I can really criticize against Ben or Raymond Lee's acting of Ben. But as I said, we do need to see Ben being his own character as time goes on.
I think
and we
will.
did see good snippets of that as we went. What you were saying about the macho-ness too, that, again, may be part of the Lee P seeping into Ben.
That's true.
So,
because what Scott said when we talked to him was that that wasn't originally part of the character, but in his head, for his backstory, he made that be part of it, and it ended up coming out in the episode. So that's already established, so maybe they have that going into it with Ben now. So
yeah, and
we'll
we also have to
that.
remember, too, Addison saying that Ben is quite out of character in this particular episode, saying,
oh, that's
he
true,
can't
yeah.
dance, he can't fight, he's usually in a T-shirt and typing out code, doesn't like socializing, all that sort of stuff, and he's doing all of those things, and seeming to fit in quite well doing it, too.
He looks good in a tux.
Yeah, and out of one.
Shirtless Ben. So I'll get that action figure. I'll get Tux Ben action figure and Shirtless Ben action figure.
Yeah.
To me, Ben's character is my way into the world. So when I'm experiencing this story, I feel like I'm Ben almost in my head, like while you're reading a book, And so that brings us to the character of Addison, which I immediately fell in love with.
Oh yeah,
wow,
she's mine. No,
the girl is mine.
Dibs.
The girl
Dibs.
is mine.
Dibs.
I'm a lover, not a fighter, Hayden. I don't know how the rest of that.
Well, I'm both. But the
hologram is mine.
Get in the ring with me.
The hologram is mine.
Yeah. Speaking of the hologram, so apparently Addison was originally supposed to be the Leaper, and Ben was supposed to be the hologram. That's very interesting. And I mean, in universe, we know the reason that they changed it is because Ben got this message saying that the window was only open for that tiny short amount of time. But I wonder if that might have been the original plan of the writers as well, to have a female Leaper.
It was definitely, I think, on the minds of them because of Deborah wanting to redo it with Sammy Joe as the Leaper. So I think that they wanted to continue that story, and they probably liked Deborah's story, and Deborah, but she came up with the Sammy Joe character. So if Sammy Joe was the main Leaper, then she would make money on each one, kind of like Tom Paris and Nick Locarno on Voyager, I think. But I like the direction they went, and that what she mentioned where she was supposed to be the Leaper, and we'll find out more about her background as a character and how it mirrors her background as a person, which is amazing. She was amazing, had amazing life before she started with Quantum Leap. But I like that moment, and I really felt like she was like supportive of Ben and disappointed that it wasn't her at the same time.
Yeah, and I also like the fact she and Ben really complement each other well. There's that idea of opposites attract, and Addison really does seem to be the more extroverted person who is better to be more social and interact better with maybe the team. Maybe that's part of the reason why Ben felt like he needed to leave, so that Addison could be keeping everything together at the project, perhaps. So I also like the fact that Addison, wouldn't take any of Ben's caca and tells him off, saying, even with a Swiss cheese memory, you still manage to be this stubborn, and gives him some hints on how he can use his physics brain to get through some of the problems. I did like the fact that they brought in, some, practical physics to help get through a problem. I hope they do something like that maybe in every episode. That would be quite interesting to see, learn a little physics along the way. I'm not much of a physicist myself, more a mathematician, but I do like seeing the applied side of the maths too. Yeah, but no, I think Addison is up there with Magic as my favorite two characters. Yeah, she's someone who I'm very interested to learn a bit more about.
With Addison, I definitely felt that there was that genuine love there with Addison and Ben, at least from Addison's side, because Ben doesn't remember. But I also felt that they had a really strong bond also because she was able to tease him, and that was when she made that comment about, well, you think you can dance. That is definitely something that people in a relationship would rib each other on at that point. So I really like that, because even when you're in a relationship, even when you get a compliment from your partner, it's usually backhanded.
A backhanded compliment, yeah. Ben is quite oblivious already, even in the short interactions that he's had with Addison. I would think that he would pick up there's maybe a little bit more behind them than just, work colleagues. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was one scene, I think it was in the kitchen, back room, dry storage, where he was tied up, or maybe in the bathroom when they were talking, when it seemed like he had a thought like, oh, maybe we are more than just work colleagues. But like he immediately dismissed it because of the situation and the timing and the pressure they were under at the time. But you would think even if he lost his memories, he would like have some kind of more memories of her than he should, if that makes sense. But we'll see. I don't know how the Swiss cheese brain works.
We didn't hear anything about GTF dubs in this episode, but
not this one.
My theory always had been that GTF dubs actually controlled what parts of memory would be able to be retained during the leaps. So it purposely removed any thoughts of Donna in Sam, apart from obviously the leap where he got her over her daddy issues. But as time went on, it's as though Donna didn't exist, and that's because that's the way GTF dubs obviously wanted it, so that Sam would keep fulfilling his life's work. And maybe something similar is going on with Ben's memory as well. If, there is a GTF dubs type entity, controlling his leaps. Yeah,
removing the memories that were needed to remove so he could accomplish what he's doing.
Yeah.
There is a short scene, maybe a few lines of a character that could have been played by Bruce McGill in the original pilot, but it was never said. So we'll see when we get there if that's a thing or not. I don't know if they're going to go in that direction, since apparently Scott's not going to be part of the show. So
At least
Addison,
not for a while.
not for a while. Addison, I'm completely head over heels in love with already. I'm swooning. And Caitlin Bassett is an amazing human being portraying her. So I'm on board. I'm hooked. I've read the first chapter, and I'm not going to put this book down until it's over. And then I'm going to pick it up immediately and read it again.
That's it.
So we mentioned magic. Let's talk about Ernie Hudson. Wow, they got Ernie Hudson, a Ghostbuster.
Yes.
How cool is that?
Such good casting. I did really want to see Chris Kirby reprising his role, especially because, he's one of my friends now. But having said that, Ernie has done such a great job, even just in this one episode. Now, what he comes across as is he's the wise old character, not really smart, but very wise. There's a big difference between wisdom and knowledge. He knows the way to get things done, and he knows when to look the other way. He knows, he just knows. But it's because of his life experience, and he just exudes that even just in his presence. Like the scene with him and Jen, where Jen's saying, "You need to fire me, this is my fault," and he's like, "Ha, no way. You're the only one here who can fix this, so you need to be here to fix it. That's our only lead. Go get on it." That sort of thing, If he really was, someone who always stuck by the books, Jen would have been out on her ass. But having said that, I'm very, very keen to see what they actually do with magic, especially because he's so far one of the only two characters we've seen that have connection to the original series, right? Being someone that Sam leapt into in Vietnam, and he did name drop Vietnam as well. So I'm sure something like that will come up in the future. yeah, I think Magic is one of the most intriguing characters so far, and probably my favourite character out of the 5. So, yeah, I'll be very, very keen to see what happens. What are your thoughts?
Ernie's portrayal of Magic, I really liked. In that first scene, I think that we really focus on him where he's walking down the stairs into the headquarters of Project Quantum Leap. You just feel like, yes, this guy's in charge. He notices what he's talking about. And I got the immediate feeling like, yes, I would follow this man into a losing battle. No problem. Yeah. He's our leader, and he's leading. And he just has that power that he carries himself, that he's the boss and we know it, but again, he's a great guy and he knows how to lead people. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing more about him in season 1 in a few episodes. Yeah. So,
and also, he's not above lying to get what he wants. So
he lied a couple times in this.
He lied to the higher up people, saying no, everything's under control, and then, damn it, I've got to get on a plane and go to DC and sort this out. All that. So yeah, I could totally see him as being the one that's wise enough to just do what's needed to get it done.
He's also good with people, though. Like he said, say hi to James for me. So somebody's. I was trying to Google like Washington, whose partner is named James, and what's going on, but I couldn't find anything. I'm sure somebody will figure that out in Hive Mind. But I was really impressed by Ernie, and I think I was disappointed that Magic was recast at first, but Ernie Hudson,
Yeah.
That makes up for it.
If they were going to recast him, at least they've done it right.
Right. It wasn't somebody else that was just like not the original Magic. It was Ernie Hudson. So
yeah, and also the scene with he's the one that knows about the Hope Diamond actually having been stolen originally. They never reported it, but he knew. No, they stole it. They just covered it up. And
blue glass.
He's there so that when Ziggy can't get the information, he can. That's I think part of the reason why he's so important in this team.
He's a Washington insider. He knows the secrets in the dirt.
Yeah.
I like that because that's also another thing about the show that they can play with history, because things that we understand as fact and know for granted, we could totally be wrong. So they can play with that.
Well, history was written by the victors. So.
Exactly. So, and what's the difference if it's glass or a diamond? I mean, a rock is a rock,
Well, glass is made of sand and diamonds are made of coal.
Well, then let's go to Jen then. What did you think of Jen? There wasn't much of her in this episode, but we did get a little bit.
Jen and Ian really were the characters that didn't get very well fleshed out in this episode. And it's understandable. They only had 40-ish minutes to do it in. It's a big ensemble cast of 5. They're not going to be able to do big spotlights on every one of them every single time. So I do understand it. I do like the fact that she is very responsible. She realized she was willing to take responsibility for things going wrong. And also I can see a little bit of this leadership ability coming through with her because, while Ian and Addison were bickering about Ziggy, I think Magic called out and said, was someone monitoring that conversation between the two of you? And they're like, oh, no, we didn't. And Jen's like, yeah, feel lucky that I did though. So, she sees things that need to be done and she does them. So I do appreciate that. You'll also like this parallel. I see Magic and Jen a bit like a Kirk and Spock relationship. Kirk's the one that will do what's needed, whereas Spock's the one who will always stick to the rules. I think
like that.
Magic's the Kirk sort of character, while Jen is a bit more of the Spock. So yeah, that's what kind of came across to me.
I liked Narissa's portrayal of Jen. I don't think we saw enough of her, but like you said, we can't focus on the whole ensemble, each character individually, because we just don't have time in this one episode. Yeah. So I'm sure that's something
why it really should have been a two-parter. Yeah.
Or at least a very special longer episode or something like that. But it was definitely, there was too much put into one show, one episode. It was very weird to me that she just seemed like she was chill, like there. Not a character. She seemed actually like a genuine person that if they were there, that's how they would act. They'd be like, okay, I'll go do that. They wouldn't be like, okay, I'll go do that. So her portrayal was more real, but it made her stand out less. Almost like, how you have to go big and play to the back row. She wasn't doing that. She was definitely more held back, more reserved. So it was intriguing. I want to see more of Jen's character, though.
Yeah, definitely. And as for Ian, interesting with Ian. Ian was probably the character that was fleshed out the least in this episode, but I think given that this is the non-binary character, that's probably what would be needed. Ian's obviously the one that stands out the most, and a lot of the more toxic so-called fans are the ones that call out the fact that they do this woke PC garbage, putting in all these things that don't really exist, blah, blah, blah. No. That people exist. People are people. Yeah. Get over it. That sort of thing. But having said that, by incorporating Ian a little bit more organically and letting their place in the project build over time might be the best thing actually for the character, especially to be accepted by some of the more toxic members of the fandom. I actually found it kind of interesting that from the accounts that we'd gotten about Ian, it was supposed to kind of be a bit more Asperger's-like, not someone who'll interact very much with people, a bit more in tune with the computers and that sort of stuff. So it surprised me that Ian was so close to Ben and so upset when Ben actually did leap. One of my best friends is lost in time. You wouldn't expect someone who is supposedly not as attached to people to say something like that. Maybe they needed to put a line like that in to humanize them a little bit better. I'm not sure. We did see tiny little bits of kind of the more computer side, the computer-loving side of Ian, though, when they're trying to get the imaging chamber working, and Ian's like, no, Ziggy's the most important thing at the moment. Nothing happens until Ziggy's back online. That could be interpreted as being, connecting more with the computers than the real people. Or maybe Ian just sees the bigger picture and knows that Ziggy's needed to control everything. I'm not sure, but I'm just pointing out that that's a possibility. But I am interested in seeing where they do go with Ian. I'm sure somewhere along the way, something to do with their non-binary status will come into the forefront. But
or not.
I think or maybe not, but it will be probably better for the character to be introduced more organically than just put right front and center. So yeah, I do like the way that Ian was introduced, and although the least fleshed out character so far, still things there that I'm keen to see how they'll play out.
The original rumors we heard or speculation that Ian's character was on the spectrum, I didn't see any evidence of that in this episode, so they might have went in a different direction. Because they definitely had an outgoing personality, and where you say they didn't focus on Ian's character enough, I thought that they really did a good job. And right from the get-go, when they were trying to get the music played at the anniversary party, and that later scene where Ian had to step out of the room just to collect their thoughts and feelings because they were so close with Ben. And that's a separation that they've got to deal with too. And I felt that. Maybe it's just because I had a little crush on Ian's character, the style, the attitude, the confidence, and the intelligence to me is like a really good combination of a character. And I felt like I knew who Ian was just in this first episode. So that's a character that I'm enamored with, and I want to know more. And Mason Alexander Park's portrayal of Ian, perfect. Like I said at the top of the show, it's great, and I'm hooked. I want to know more. And as far as toxic fans, I really don't believe toxic fans that are hateful towards people. Yeah, they're not fans. They're people that are hateful and looking for ways to express it. And like you said, people exist, and people in all shapes, sizes, genders, every
Sexual
type of
orientations.
yes, every type of person exists, and just modern television reflects the real world, whereas it used to pretend that the real world didn't exist. So I'm very on board for a non-binary character, and if they focus on that aspect of their character, I'll be on board to watch it and find out more about it. And if it's not an issue or not brought up at all, that's fine with me. I mean, I'm just going to enjoy the fashion and the confidence and the hair and makeup. I mean, the great character. I'm so impressed with that character, and it could have been done so poorly, and so a very special episode of the week, but they didn't. It's just Ian's a character, and they're part of the team, and I love it.
Yeah, so that's the main 5 characters. We also have the mysterious Janice Calavici, who apparently is the one who sent the text message to Ben saying that this was the only window of opportunity that they had to get the leap happening, and apparently had tried to get onto the project, but then was refused, apparently being too close to the original project. So I'll be interested to see what happens with Janice, how she ends up, just how things end up playing out because of her intervention, and what role she's going to have further down the track. It was nice the fact that they did show us both Sam and Al. They showed Sam on the hand link with the little profile, how he's 69 and the original Leaper and all that sort of stuff. And
nice.
Then they also, and then they showed when they pointed out who Janice was, they showed the picture of Al and the fact that she is Al's daughter. And the fact that they dedicated the episode to Dean Stockwell as well was really quite sweet.
I felt that it was important that they did that. I didn't expect it at all. I don't know why I didn't expect it, but when they did it, I said, yeah, that feels right.
Yeah. So look, anyone who has been worried about the fact that Scott and Dean aren't in the episode, they kind of are. They're at least acknowledged, that we know where the show came from. They're acknowledging where the show came from. They're building on it. Stupid people today were saying things like, oh, it's a reboot, not a continuation because Scott Bakula's in it. And I'm like, no, it's just acknowledging that there's been a passage of time, but everything that still happened originally still happened. We're just moving on a little bit. That's all. It's continuation. So, they walked so that Ben and Addison and Magic and Jen and Ian can run.
Mm-hmm. These are the same people that wouldn't watch Star Trek The Next Generation because William Shatner's not in it. Talking about Janice, Al's daughter in this episode, that was one of the storylines that was pulled from the original script, the original episode, and that storyline was connected directly with Sam's character. So they kept that part of the storyline, but of course not with Sam. So, and to me, now this wasn't in the script, but just everything I know in my headcanon, I was putting together why Ben leaped was because of Sam, like trying to save Sam. And that's what he was doing. And because that had to do with Al's daughter, Janice, and her working on trying to get Sam home.
Yeah.
So without Sam, they could still have the story of Sam trying to get Sam home without just never getting him home or meeting him if it ends up happening that way.
Yeah, and remember, it said Sam Beckett never returned home.
It's right there.
Never. So
right, but they spelled it wrong. So it might not be true.
Yeah, so
it's an alternate universe.
One of the T's went to the Sam that stayed home, and one of the T's went to the Sam that kept leaving. No, that's funny stuff. But look, people need to stop trying to make Sam Beckett Comes Home happen. It's not going to happen. We might see him somewhere down the track, but he's just going to end up saying, "This is my life's work. I'm glad you're here to help." That sort of thing. Yeah.
I think Scott Bakula in his message gave his blessing. Yeah. Pass the torch at least through social media, if not in an episode. So, but we have what, 5 more seasons of this show. So hopefully,
let's hope so.
So
that brings up a very good point. the show is not going to continue unless it has fans and unless people watch. So people just need to get, off their high horse. People need to get off their soapbox, accept the fact that, Scott Bakula has moved on, that Dean Stockwell has passed away. The show is back. It's all the things that we loved about the show apart from the original actors. Watch it, enjoy it, make a decision about it based on what you see, instead of based on what you don't see, and let people know that you like it, and keep watching, keep the show around. The reason that it was cancelled the first time was because it didn't have enough of a following, even though we did have some really great fans who did follow it everywhere that it did go. All right.
I think they hit a home run with the episode. They couldn't have done any better, so I'm on board.
Yeah, look, they could have done better, actually. They could have spread it out a little bit more.
I think we're agreeing that the only thing that they did wrong is they didn't give us enough yet.
Yeah. They did give us enough.
Or they gave us too much, but not in enough time.
Short an amount of time. Yeah.
Yes. And I don't think that can be put on the storytellers as much as this is the time you're given. This is the time you have to get people on board. And now with television nowadays, you know how it goes. If they don't get the numbers right away, it's canceled. It's gone. Moving on to next. Thank you, next. So they have to get it all done within the constraints of modern day streaming and television.
Yeah. Avoid watching it if you really don't want to, but avoid watching it in silence. We don't need to hear that you're not watching it. No
matter what they do with the new series, with the new version of this series, nothing they do can affect what's behind me, which is that complete series Blu-ray set of Quantum Leap.
That's it.
That is what it is, and telling new stories in that same universe does nothing to take that away from anybody. So
That's exactly right. Unless Ben leaps back to 1995 and prevents the original Project Quantum Leap. But I doubt that's going to happen.
I'm waiting for a brush with history where he actually fixes the music on the old DVDs.
So that'd be nice. Well, that reminds me, there was some really good music in this episode too.
There was, but hopefully it sticks around. Lots of 80s music. The score was really good. I can't believe that opening theme song. That blew my mind. And for me, the only thing that really bumped me besides the rushed nature of the whole thing, trying to get too much in too little of time, was there was a lot of, as you know, in the episode, characters telling each other things they both already knew, just for our benefit for the exposition dump. And one of those scenes was between Jen and Magic, where when Jen handed Magic the pad and showed that it was Al Calavici, and one of them mentioned to the other, he was part of the original project. They know that. There's only Al and Sam, and they've been working on Project Quantum Leap. They both know Al and Sam are on Quantum Leap. They don't have to say he was part of the original project. So that line felt a little unnecessary, but for people who've never heard or seen of Quantum Leap before, which there are people I hear, none of my friends apparently, but there are people. So that was for them, but it pulled me out a little bit. And the other only thing about the, as you know, was the scene with Ian and Addison when they were talking about Quantum Leap. And they even called it out saying, I already know that. I work here or something like that. So, but again, that was for people that are brand new to the universe. So it had to be done, but it just didn't seem like it would be natural conversation. But I don't know how you could fit that information in
without saying
without saying it with these characters that obviously know all that. So, but that's TV. It's not real life. It's TV.
Yeah. Speaking of the project, though, I really did like seeing the scenes at the project.
Mm-hmm.
This is what we should have gotten more of in the original series, really. We should have seen more interactions between the members of the project. We should have seen what the imaging chamber looked like from Al's point of view. I'm glad we got to see it from Addison's and seeing the whole hologram around her, kind of breaking up and fading away. It was great seeing the inside of Ziggy. Yeah, it's a shame.
Careful where you go with that.
Well, it's a shame we didn't hear Deborah, or maybe we did.
It was great to hear Deborah.
Oh, okay.
It was sad we didn't hear Deborah. There was no lines. Ziggy didn't have lines this episode, I don't think.
Yeah, I think that might have been a bit too much for the casual viewer who's only just starting. All right, but especially because Ziggy had been offline, maybe they're just happy getting Ziggy online again. But it would have been nice to hear, yeah, it's about time you got to me, Ian, or something like that. Would have been nice to hear. But look, I'm hoping we get to hear a Ziggy somewhere along the way. Speaking of which, I loved the little disc hand link that makes the projections. It's nice seeing that they're able to do something futuristic still. Yeah, because obviously everyone now has the smartphone like Ziggy was originally. Yeah.
That's going to be easier for the fan-made props of the new hand link. You know, they just take an Echo Dot and put a battery in it, and so it lights up blue, and you're good. But they went a different direction. Then Nicolas Cage just leaped.
He just did a quantum lead. Yeah, I'll get it later.
Hayden, why don't you introduce our next interview? And this is done by my favorite part of the multiverse, Serenity.
Yeah. Oh, that's all right. Well, one of our favorite aspects of the Quantum Leap universe is all the new fans, and we have Miley Dudeck's interview from Quantum Leap's newest fan and Quantum Leap podcast's newest interviewer, Serenity Birch.
Hello, welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast. I'm Serenity, and today I'm going to be interviewing Maile Dudeck. Hello, welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
So how did you get started in show business?
Well, I was younger, and my brother was doing it, and of course I wanted to do everything what my older brother does. So I asked my mom if I could do it, and she's like, sure, you can try it. And so I booked some commercials and some TV shows, and now here I am.
Wow. So, do you remember your first audition?
No, because I was like 4 or 5, I think, so...
Yeah,
no, not really.
I can't even remember that far back. What was your favorite acting role to record?
My favorite one was probably one on the show Mom, because I got to be with my brother on set, and that was really cool. So that was definitely one of my favorite experiences and one of my favorite roles.
I watched the episode, and I was the whole episode, I was just waiting for you to come on screen.
Yeah, I was kind of in the end.
Yeah. So, about Quantum Leap. Just tell me everything about you filming on Quantum Leap.
Well, filming on Quantum Leap was really awesome. The cast and crew was super nice. And it was also really cool because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and we were literally right behind Harry Potter worlds, which was pretty cool.
That's cool.
And it was really cool seeing all the set and stuff, because it was like I was back in the 80s or 90s or wherever it was. But it was crazy because I saw the little police cars, and I was literally as tall as the police car, which was so crazy because my mom has an SUV, which I'm half the size of, and I just see this tiny little car, and I'm like, how do people even fit into it?
Yeah.
So the experience of being in that type of area was really cool, and just filming it and just the whole experience was really awesome.
Where did you film it?
We filmed it at Universal Studios.
Oh, cool.
In Hollywood.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about your character in Quantum Leap.
So, her name is Caroline, and she's the daughter of Ryan and Katie. And she is, I think, 10 years old. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Was it cool meeting a bunch of people on the set?
Yeah, that was really cool. I am a huge fan of Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick, and Raymond Lee, the lead, was actually one of the pilots in there, so that was really cool seeing him in that movie and knowing, wow, I'm in a TV show with him.
Yeah. How much time did you get to spend with all the actors?
At the beginning, I think I was mostly just in the trailer on my phone and stuff, but then when I was filming, we were there like a lot, and during different takes, we like sat down and we were kind of like all together in one room. So we were together for like kind of
Wow.
2 hours.
Yeah.
I think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So tell me everything about your experience with Quantum Leap.
Well, it was really cool being on set and stuff, and I love being on set, and it was cool seeing all the actors and everything, and being in the trailer and doing hair and makeup, and that was probably really fun. And I love like meeting everybody.
Who was your favorite actor to meet?
Probably the person who played Katie, because she was really nice to me, and the person who played my mom, she was super nice, and she was really fun to talk to.
Okay. Random question. What's your favorite dinosaur?
Probably the raptor, because they're really tiny, but really vicious.
Yeah. My favorite is probably a Stegosaurus or Triceratops. Did you have any lines on that episode?
Yes. I had one line. It was, Daddy, I think.
What do you think is your favorite part of being a actor?
Probably just the experience of, it's really exciting when you book a role, and I love being on set, and it's really cool, like, being able to watch myself on TV, so that's really cool.
How fun was it to work with Raymond Lee and Kate Bassett?
It was really fun because they were really nice, and it was cool just hanging out with all the actors, and it was a really cool experience.
What was your first acting role?
My first acting role?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure, but I think it was a commercial. But the first one that I actually remember was I Love You, America. I think that's what it's called. But
Speaking of that, did you ever get to watch that episode that you were in?
yes, I did. And it was very interesting.
I actually watched it last night.
Cool.
How much do you remember being on Mom?
I just kind of remember waking up really early in the morning and driving down and being at Warner Brothers, and I remember it was like super cold, so we had to bring like super heavy jackets, and it was just me and my brother and my mom in the trailer, and then my brother and I filmed. One of the tour guides, or one of the people that worked there, since I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, he actually let us go into this kind of like museum, and the bottom was like DC superheroes, and then upstairs was all Harry Potter,
Cool.
which was super cool because I got to explore that, and it was really cool.
I like Harry Potter too. I think I'm on like the 5th book.
Oh, I'm on the 5th book too.
Cool. Do you have any bookings planned upcoming?
I haven't booked anything, but I actually have a callback with my brother for a commercial, I think, and that's actually later today. So
Cool. Good luck on that. I'm excited
you.
to see it.
Thank you.
What's your goal in acting?
My goal in acting would probably be to either get a lead role of a movie or a TV show, because that would be so cool.
Back to Quantum Leap. Have you been able to watch any of the footage that you filmed?
No, but I have seen the trailer, which looks super cool, and I saw like one of the scenes that was going on in the episode right before I was on, so I kind of saw a little bit of that in the trailer, which was pretty cool.
Are you going to be watching when it premieres next week?
Yes, definitely. I'm very excited for it.
Same. I'm like trying to catch up on Quantum Leap. Like I'm on the beginning of the 2nd season and I have to get to the end of the 5th.
Oh my gosh. Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
That might take a while.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you remember on your time on Quantum Leap?
One thing that I remember was really cool because I love the movie Goonies, but it's really old. And it was crazy to see how old the time was because there was an old movie theater, and on the big thing where it shows what's playing, it said The Goonies. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Because it's like such an old movie, but it's so good. And I was like, wow.
Yeah,
Crazy.
I love the Goonies movie also.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
Thank you so much for being on here.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for letting me be here.
I'm excited to watch you on Quantum Leap.
Thank you.
For the Quantum Leap podcast, I'm Serenity, and this is Maile Dudeck. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Oh my goodness. I am such a proud father. She is a natural born interviewer. I know I'm biased, but she's my favorite interviewer ever. I mean, Frost Nixon, forget about that. Serenity and Miley Dudek. That I want to see a major motion picture based on that interview. And the random question, what's your favorite dinosaur? That is perfect for two 10-year-olds to talk about.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that was a great interview, and she's just a natural, probably because she's been watching me do it and her mom do it since she was born. She would sit on her lap
Pretty
while
much,
we were interviewing people. Yeah, so she kind of grew up around it, and so proud of her, so proud of her. And that was a great interview with Miley
I think we might
Dudek.
all be out of a job soon, Albie.
Soon. Well, I was telling Matt, his son Zach, I was saying, Serenity and Zach are similar in age. When we age out, the Quantum Leap podcast can go on with maybe the 3rd series with Serenity and Zach talking about it. So look forward to that.
Well, hopefully not the Jersey Shore podcast, like we had in that future scene in one of our previous episodes.
Yeah, well, that's a possible
Serenity
future.
situation.
Yep, that's why I play that for Rennie, and I tell her never smoke so you don't sound like that. So a little inside.
Well,
humor
we
for
need President Snooky.
That was good. Did you write that? Who wrote that?
Yeah,
was that you?
I wrote that.
Great job.
And I think it was it Leslie who did Grown Up Serenity's voice? Or
yep.
something? Yeah,
it was perfect. It was just perfect.
It was
I
so
love
much
that. I love that. Okay. Yeah, Miley Dudek playing Caroline, which was Ryan's daughter. I think we needed to see in this episode. I think we needed to see Ryan's family to understand why he's doing it and how desperate he is. And I just think it was perfect. And she did a great job on the show. And it's so cool that she was able to do the interview for us. She was very kind to us when we connected, and her mother as well, very kind. And I just like to thank them for the interview. And we'll definitely be looking out for her and other things. So
Yeah, she was in Mom, wasn't she, as well?
yeah, she was in Mom. She was in Mom, and I think it's America, I Love You, or I Love You, America. It's the Sarah Silverman show on Hulu. Really funny adult comedy, and they put some adult words in her mouth when she was 5 years old, so it makes it even funnier. But she did really great on both shows. So she made a friend and a fan of Serenity. So
Yep. And just think when she's the next Jennifer Aniston or whoever it is who's big at the moment, you'll be able to say her very first interview was with the Quantum Leap
with
podcast.
Serenity, Quantum Leap
with
podcast. Yeah,
Serenity.
she's definitely got the it factor. Very well spoken, intelligent, and kind. And it was great to have her on. So, what did you think of the whole heist episode? You have to steal the C4 to blow up, to make a distraction to get the Hope Diamond. I thought that was a weird overkill, because there's other ways to turn the energy or electric off at the gala.
Yeah, and I also thought it was wrapped up too quickly. I mean, all that
Very much
he had to do was punch out the guy that was going to take out the security door, and so that meant there was going to be more security, and then putting the bomb down into the sewer. I hope no one was down there.
And Ed Norton's like, what just happened?
Yeah. It did happen very quickly. There were some really good moments, but again, I think that if they really wanted to focus on a lot of the action, which I think they did, they could have stretched it out a bit more. The car chase scene, I think, was too short, and they escaped the cops far too easily and just hid in an alley where they could easily be found. I had to really suspend my disbelief there. And yeah, of course he doesn't know how to drive a manual. Of course. Yeah. What else was I
I'm
gonna
glad
say?
they fixed. Speaking of the car chase, I'm glad they fixed the Philadelphia palm trees. I put that in my last video on here about the things we missed in the trailers. I don't know if anybody picked up on that, but they're in Philadelphia and there's palm trees everywhere. But apparently these special effects guys, not a palm tree to be seen. Great job.
Well, that's good news. I did like the fact that, of course, Magic knew that the Hope Diamond really had been stolen, and of course it had been covered up. So I really loved Ben's statement that he's got to prevent the worst robbery that no one ever knows happened. That sort of thing.
There was a lot of good lines, and that was one of them in this show. I thought it was a weird way to get to the Hope Diamond thing, but you needed action, and you needed a chase, and you needed to get those viewers that are just going to tune in for the car chase. I don't know if you remember 70s television, but every episode of everything had a car chase, including All in the Family, which makes no sense. But everything had to have a car chase, and there was movies back then that were just car chases. It was a good way to throw them in the middle of an action, but just stealing C4 to do that, it seemed odd to me. And also, you mentioned the security guards behind the door. At this big event, all the security guards are in one room behind one door while it's happening. That kind of made no sense, but it is what it is.
I did wonder, did they film this footage of the car chase, or did they pull it from somewhere else? Because I remember in another episode of Quantum Leap, what was it? Was it Runaway? No.
What, something like that.
No, not Runaway. It was.
Which one was it? They
pulled
it from the Steven Spielberg movie.
Yeah,
they pulled it from the Steven
woman
Spielberg
who thought
movie.
she was a jinx. Yeah, and they pulled an actual car chase out of that because it had been another Don Belisario film. He had access to the footage.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they actually filmed that.
To me, it felt like it was filmed because it had palm trees in it, and it was Philadelphia. Okay. But it was a weird way to get from A to B to C, but it seemed to work. But again, what you mentioned, where the ending for me, it was over too quickly. It was like we have 15 minutes to save the day, and within the next 90 seconds, the whole thing was over. There was a tango, there was a gunshot, and there was an explosion, but it all happened within the course of a minute. It looked more like a trailer of the culmination of the
actual
episode than the actual episode. So I felt that was weird. So it might be good to see, like, one day if they release an extended version of it, because I'm sure they wrote more and probably filmed more, but this is what we got. Yeah. To me, I felt a little disappointed. Like, the ending was just, I call it the Star Trek ending, where it's like 46 minutes of setup and then a 30-second ending.
Yeah. And the other thing too, you know, Addison says, "Oh, everything's fine. You know, Ryan doesn't go to jail because he does a deal with the cops and rats on everyone else." And the city's
and then the
so
town rallied
proud
behind
that,
him. Yeah,
yeah, the town rallied behind him, and they paid for the wife's treatments, and she's fine now, and all that. Like, yeah, right. No American would ever do that.
a guy that tried to steal the Hope Diamond and use C4 to explode. People.
Put people in a shitload of danger, and
and donated money. I don't know. It's they had to come up with something that happened good, but I just felt like the day was saved too easily. Like, it's a C4 bomb and he threw it into the store, but which is, you know, a big deal. But there wasn't as much. I guess suspense is what I was missing, because like I was ready to be in suspense, but it was over before I could be. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that. I think one of the better scenes is where they have the confrontation with the guy who created the fake Hope Diamond, and you know, Ben's able to get Addison to whisper some things into his ear about, you know, his bank accounts in the Cayman Islands and all this other stuff that he knows that the guy doesn't want to be let out, and scaring the crap out of him in the process. I thought that was a really good way to incorporate, you know, how you can get some future knowledge to help you out. And yeah, I hope we see more of that in the coming time too.
Horace was a good character, and I liked how that scene ended. There was that little tag on that scene, and he was like, "Get my accountant on the phone." So who knows? Maybe he stopped Horace from going to jail with that little information. You never know.
Well, maybe. Or maybe he ended up in jail sooner. We're going to see Horace very soon too, aren't we?
We are. We have an interview with the actor who played the actor extraordinaire, actor, writer, director, a dancer. This guy can dance. That played Horace. He is a Romanian actor that does live theater, and he does television, and he does all kinds of things. And we had the great pleasure of talking to him. This is another interview that Matt Dale from the Quantum Leap podcast did, author of Beyond the Mirror Image, The Observer's Guide to Quantum Leap, which is available. You can get on Kickstarter right now, I think. We'll have a link down below.
Part 1 of version 2.0.
Part 1 of version 2.0. You have your reservation in, right?
I'm getting a free one.
I had to pay for mine.
Yeah, well, I put in hours and hours of work proofing.
I did. Well, I paid money. I did some proofing. You know what you guys all missed? You all the proofers missed that in the episode Blind Faith, it said that he doesn't ever get his mustard. And he totally got his mustard. But Matt fixed it. So
good.
So now we'll go to Matt Dale's interview with Don Estrada, the Romanian actor who plays Horace in this episode, and hopefully you'll be as enthralled as I was when we talked to him. He's just a great guy and a major theater guy, and he was just like perfect in this character. It makes me want to read a whole Quantum Leap novel tie-in on Horace's character, hopefully written by him, kind of like Andy Robinson did for Garrick. Okay, so here's the interview with Don Estrada.
Welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast. I am really excited to be bringing you the latest interview with a member of the cast of the new series, Dan Istrate. Welcome to the show, Dan.
It's great to be here.
Dan plays a key role in the scene in the first episode. He plays Horace, who is the dealer with the fake Hope Diamond. You'll all have just seen that, so I'm sure you'll remember that. And he also ends up becoming effectively the first bad guy in the series that Ben is going to use his knowledge of the future against. So I'm sure that's something that's going to be coming up more throughout the show. But you'll be the first. So I thought we'd start by just talking a bit generally. If you can maybe tell me about your early life. I know you were born in Romania. What took you from Romania to the US?
That's correct. I was born in Romania, and I was born in Transylvania. So you can imagine all the jokes and references to Dracula and so on, and that comes up a lot. and it's great. But I was born in Romania.
I'll try and resist. I imagine you've heard them all
It's
before.
very tempting, especially because right now I'm doing a show and it's actually Dracula. But anyway, I was born in Romania during communism, and I grew up in the darkest time of communism in the late 80s. So after that, the borders opened and I started to travel, and I was going to the University of Theatre and Film in Bucharest, and we started to actually tour in all these festivals, and I ended up touring in US in 1998. I had a kind of a relationship with a university in Richmond, Virginia, and they invited me to teach, and that's how I ended up on the East Coast. And then I started to do theater and ended up working in Washington, D.C. actually. And then I always wanted to, I kind of had it in the back of my mind to move to Los Angeles and be in, films and TV. And, fast forward 20 years later, here I am.
Fantastic. And it's not, I understand, you obviously mentioned the kind of the theatre and the drama element. I understand you've got quite a passion for dancing and quite a history there as well.
Yes, I mean, I kind of fell into movement and dance as well. I don't call myself a dancer because I don't want to insult real dancers, but I can definitely move, and I've done a lot of movement theater, and I kind of approach any role a little bit from a physical standpoint. Even if it's very static scene or if it's a very, psychological, realistic scene, I still think about, the way you move and the way you carry yourself, and little subtle things. They're always there in the back of my mind, and I find it very actually helpful. Doing very highly stylized theater helps me in when I'm in front of the camera, because it gives me an amazing inner freedom. I mean, you cannot ask me anything that I would say, oh, why would I do that? Or how do I motivate that on screen? No, I'm already, I've done things that seem so out of ordinary or so abstract, but I have to find a justification. So when I do that and then I'm in front of the camera, I'm ready to go in any direction, So I'm available, so to speak, very quick.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because one thing I noticed, you're obviously only in the one scene in Quantum Leap, so you don't have much of a chance to build up a character. Right. But you are there on screen right away, and we have to know exactly who you are. So some of that came from that kind of physical background, did it? That you were able to just pull from that?
It's funny you say that because, I don't, the first line is in Romanian, and they let me say that in Romanian, right. And I felt right at home right away. So I felt very free, and it was actually, I know it sounds like a cliche, but it was so much fun to do that scene because it came naturally, even though he's such a, unscrupulous guy. And I would like to think that he's completely at the opposite of the human spectrum than myself. But I felt very, very comfortable with that character right away. It was very it was very fun to even be in that world of 1980s Philadelphia, US. I mean, it was a true film experience in the best sense of the word to be dropped, so to speak, in that world, because they created this beautiful world. It's like you are in it almost felt like I was in a virtual reality game when I was on the set. It was so amazing. And the show is about that. It's about transitioning from one layer of reality into another layer of reality in a second. And so it was just a pleasurable experience, very satisfying as an actor.
Yeah, I can imagine. I noticed a lot of the background detail and everything. They really seem to be putting a lot of effort into the production values.
It was amazing.
I was wondering, as you mentioned that you got to say the first line in Romanian, was that a part of the casting process? Were they specifically looking for a Romanian natural, or was that just luck that you showed up and said, "Look, I'll translate this for you"?
I hope it was luck for them, meaning that I hope they liked the fact that they made that choice, because the character was written as a Eastern European / European. I think it was Russian, German, right? And then when I auditioned, I said I speak
quite general.
fluent Romanian, and then we went, okay, let's make him Romanian. So I made this like background story because his name is Horace, and I think his name initially was Horace Johnson. I think his name was Horatiu Ionescu, and he changed his name when he moved to US. You know what I mean? That's kind of like my background of the character.
Mm-hmm.
And so then, we made him Romanian, and this jeweler and jewelry forger, and I know characters like that. I as I said, I went to school in Bucharest for 7 years, and I've met people like that. It was very easy to bring him to life.
I think that showed. You brought him to life very well. You talked a little bit about the atmosphere on the set. Could I ask you some more about that? Because it was mostly a guest-led scene. I know Addison and Ben, the two leads, were there as well, but there was a lot of guest stars around there. Was that early on in the shoot? Were they still getting to know each other, or were you walking into something that was quite well established?
I felt like the leads knew each other pretty well. They were very, very comfortable, but they were very welcoming. And it was really, for the short time I was on the set, a very collaborative atmosphere, because the main character, he has that line in Romanian. So when he shows me that he can speak Romanian, and my character is surprised, I was working with him on his Romanian, and it was very free flow, and everybody was very relaxed. And I felt, as I said, I felt right at home, and it was almost like I was living this childhood fantasy when I was dreaming about how would it be, or I was imagining how would it be to do a Hollywood film, and being on the lot at Universal with these huge sets and a lot of extras and this very different world, like 1980s in Philadelphia. It was they practically had a whole block, built. It was amazing. It felt so good and kind of trippy, because we would go from the trailer, from waiting area. They would call us on the set to shoot the scene, and I would cross the street to my store, to my jewelry store, and I would see all these people. Like, it was a different reality, literally. It was beautiful. It was so satisfying for an actor. In a way, they made it very easy. It's like, it's so easy to just, all this was built practically for you. Now, just live in that world. So you just have to use your imagination quick, and you are there. And I can very easily dream. Like I can very easily allow myself to be in this dream world, because that's kind of how it felt for me, Don. It felt like I'm in a dream.
That's fascinating. You can never tell, especially with the production values these days, if it's just they'd set up the jewelry store and then put blue screens up outside and were faking everything. But
no,
to know that you actually were basically just walking in out of a backlot street, that must have been magical, I suppose.
It really was. because no, it was no green screen, nothing. It was you very easily you could believe that you are in Philadelphia in the 80s. So it was nice.
Do you have, before we go on to maybe some other talk about other work that you're doing, do you have any particular memories about the work that day that I've maybe not pulled out from you yet?
I only have I have a good general feeling about that whole experience, and the luxury in film, working in film, of doing several takes, because I'm doing theater right now. I'm on stage, like tonight in a few hours I have to be on stage at 8:00, and it's very high pressure, and everybody, every actor, they know what I'm talking about. Whereas on the set, I'm so relaxed because even, okay, we're not going to get it, but we're going to get it in the second, the third, the fourth take, whatever. And you have the freedom to, in the moment, to try different things. And I felt so comfortable. The director, producer, whoever was there, it was fun. I mean, I know I actually don't like to use that word a lot because I take it very seriously, sometimes too seriously, but it felt fun. It was very relaxed, and we were looking for new meanings, new takes on the scene, right? But it was, I have a very, very good feeling. That's the main memory that I have from that shoot.
Yeah.
So
I'll just stay on that for one more moment.
Yes.
Then, because you mentioned that you got the chance to try different takes. Have you actually seen the finished production of that scene? Have you seen your performance?
I have
in
not.
This and what they ended up?
I have not, and it's not because I don't want to see it. I have not seen it yet, and I can't wait to see it. Actually,
I think they're editing quite close to the wire. So I mean, we're recording this a few days before the air date, and I think it's only just come together for the press releases. So hopefully you'll get to see that next week, and you'll be happy with the takes that they chose.
I'm looking forward to it, and I've talked to a lot of friends, and a lot of people are very interested in this show, and a lot of people are like huge fans of the show, and I didn't realize that until I did this.
There's a lot riding on it, I think, for a lot of people, and this is why I mentioned at the start in the introduction that I'm sure it will be a common theme that Ben is able to use his future knowledge to kind of get one over on some of the other characters. So that the look on your face, just as he started talking about your accounts in the Cayman Islands, thinking that's other characters are going to be doing that throughout the show, and you're in that position where you're setting that scene. So So let's talk a bit more generally, because you mentioned that you're in the theatre at the moment. So can you tell me a bit more about what you're doing tonight and any other projects you've got going on? Where can we find you?
Yes, I took a break to go back in the shop, so to speak. I'm going back to doing theatre. I'm doing 2 shows in Washington, D.C. with a company called Cinetic Theatre. And they're mainly a movement-based theatre company. But we're doing 2 shows. One is called Host and Guest, based on a epic Georgian poem written by one of their like national poets of Republic of Georgia. His name is Vaja Pshavela, and it's a story about religious and tribal conflict. Very unfortunately, very relevant to what's going on in Ukraine and in other parts of the world today. So that's a very heavy subject play, but poetically beautiful and done in a very highly stylized manner. And we just opened that this week. And then the next show is going to be actually Dracula, and I'm playing Dracula with the same theater company. Yes. And
amazing.
It's a remount, and we want to make it even more, more spectacular and sexier and creepier, and it's going to be very entertaining. So that's what I'm doing, and it's a very highly physically demanding way of working on stage. That's what I was mentioning earlier. You go through this; it's almost almost like a circus experience. Like it's a high emotions and very very intricate choreography, and it's very demanding. But I need that in my life as an actor, so that's why I'm doing that. And then I'm gonna go back to LA in November, kind of recharged.
Right. So, I mean, we have listeners everywhere, and I'm sure with the new interest in the show, that will only increase. So, how can Washington locals get tickets for this?
Oh, it's very easy. If you go to synetictheater.org, that's SYNETIC theater.org.
Fabulous. All right, thank you. Well,
and I highly recommend it. I highly recommend. It's a very original storytelling.
Yeah, it sounds like both your current and your upcoming project both sound really great. I wish I was a little bit closer. Sadly, it's quite a long flight for me.
Yeah.
But I wish you all the luck with that.
Thank you very much.
Do you have anything specific? Do you have anything specific coming up in November? You said you're going back to LA.
I'm going back to LA. I am working on a mini TV series based on a French play. The project is called The Journey. I shot the pilot. We're going to shoot 9 more episodes, mini episodes of like 10 to 15 minutes.
All right.
Yeah, it's a very interesting format. It's a play that lends itself to that format. And each episode will be like a small art film that stands on its own. But when you put them together, they make sense together. So I'm producing, I'm directing, and I'm in it. That's my
great combination,
my baby right now. And other than that, of course, I keep on auditioning for other projects and similar to Quantum Leap. And I'm very excited about seeing the show, and I know it's going to be very successful.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling very positive about it on the show here as well. So yeah, it's great.
I mean, based on the feeling that I had, I go on a gut instinct here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going into the show, and everything you've just shared has only made me feel more positive about it as well.
Yes.
And as I say, by the time anyone sees this interview, the first episode will be out, and I'm sure a lot of people will be feeling the same way. So, yeah.
Let's hope so.
Great. Now, I got a chance earlier on to watch a movie of yours from a few years back, from 2017, called Her Tango, which you produced, directed, and starred in. Her Tango is great, and
thank you.
You said you're not a dancer. I was going to correct you on that. You are a dancer. Her Tango was just your moves were lovely.
Thank you very much. I tried to show the inner world more with that. I mean, it was a very very daring project, but I've done it with no money practically, and it was just pure passion. And it was one of those things I'm proud of, but it was more of a learning experience. I'll do more because tango is a thing I love, and I've gotten much better.
Oh really?
Oh yeah. Now
it showed.
Actually, now I can dance Argentinian tango. At the time, I was just learning it, and anyway, it was more passion than anything.
I'm no expert. I couldn't tell from your moves, but you look confident.
Thank you very much.
Everyone looked like they were feeling it. So
yeah,
I'm gonna make my partner sit down and watch it with me this weekend. I just watched it in prep for this, but I really enjoyed the film. So
I really appreciate.
I'm glad to hear you're doing more producing and directing.
I am, really and this is a beautiful project that I'm doing right now, and hopefully maybe we'll talk about that at some point. Who knows?
Yeah, you're always welcome to
Who
come
knows?
back. And
I mean, it's Quantum
love
Leap
to catch up with you
podcast.
again.
Forget it.
No, hey, it doesn't matter. You've been in Quantum Leap now. That's it. You're part of it. You're not getting away from that ever.
No,
You'll
it's
do
true, and I'm
conventions.
very happy what you mentioned. I really like, because I'm like the first bad guy, and I like that, and that's cool if people identify me with that. That's I'll take that. I'll run with that. That's nice.
Yeah. Let's say that everyone else in the show will be doing that thing of the face falling as Ben says, "Hey, I know this about you, and I know that." Everyone will be doing that. You did it first.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Amazing.
So, yeah, thank you so much for your time, Dan. We really appreciate you coming on the show.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
I've been Matt Dale for the Quantum Leap Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us at quantumleappodcast.com to get more exclusive features and interviews. And check out quantumleapinfo.net for the latest news on the show.
Wow, I love this man. He was great. So intelligent. You can tell of his love of acting. Like when you think of actor, this is an actor. And I can't wait to see him in more things. And he was in a couple movies, Subspecies 4, I want to say. So I haven't watched part 4. I think I'm on part 2. So I definitely want to check that out. And the dancing movie that Matt watched, and they talked about that movie that he was in. I haven't seen it yet, but Matt says it's great. I got to watch it. So if Matt says, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. Thank you for doing that interview for us. We really appreciate it. And I'm also very impressed with how well you were able to coach Raymond Lee in speaking Romanian. That's another thing. Apparently, Ben speaks many languages like Sam too. So
yeah,
I wonder
did you pick up on that?
Yes, yeah, I did.
They did the same thing that they did in the original Quantum Leap, to where they did some ADR to go from 7 languages to several languages or something.
Yeah,
very TV, but I think it's okay. I think it worked good. If you don't know, you wouldn't know. I don't think.
Yeah. Oh, I noticed it, but
several.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, I did see a couple of goofs.
Okay. What are your goofs?
Well, just after the leap in, when Ben gets out of the van, you actually see Ben's reflection in the van.
Yes, and not Nick Rounder, which is weird. So is there a reason for that? Was that Addison's POV? And does it? We gotta explain that away somehow.
Well, maybe they fix it in post. Who knows?
Yeah, they might fix it in post. Maybe Mike Post will fix it.
Yeah. And another goof that I saw was when Ben is looking in the mirror, some of the lips aren't syncing properly with what Ben is saying. So, yeah, I did happen to notice a couple of goofs there, which are worth pointing out. They better end up in version 3.0, Matt.
Well, that's another thing with streaming TV. Just because everything's not done when it releases doesn't mean that a week later you don't see a fix, because that has happened in recent television. Like when you go back to watch the goof again, it's not there anymore. I know they were really close to the wire for releasing tonight to get everything in, and everything was very last minute for the finishing touches, let's say. So they're definitely working on this until like right before it goes up. Yeah. And some of those things are gonna slip through, and you just got to pick your battles.
That's it. Yeah, but I don't know about you, but I've had a bit of a quantum deep building up for 30 or so years. Yeah.
So let's go to Hayden McQueenie with Quantum Deep. What is the subject of this week's Quantum Deep?
Okay, well, the really interesting thing I found in this episode was the fact that apparently Ben acted completely out of character in deciding to just go and leap straight away. And I don't know if any people have seen this meme floating around, but it's a meme that floats around that says something along the lines of, are you noticing a friend or a co-worker acting a bit strange? Well, leave them be, because there's a good chance it could be Sam Beckett leapt in there to put right what once went wrong. Now, given the fact that apparently Ben would never act the way that he did, at least the way Addison talks about him, and the fact that there's all this brand new code that they've got no idea where it came from, it almost seems like, someone else may be acting instead of Ben. You seeing where I'm going with this?
I think I am.
Yeah. I actually think that maybe Sam Beckett himself, or possibly another leaper, has leapt into either Ben or Janice and has, made all this new code accessible and given them, the reasons why Ben has to be the leaper rather than Addison and why they have to leave so quickly. I actually think that, Sam Beckett actually is behind the curtain controlling everything, and that, the reason that Ben left was because Sam has some, insider knowledge from a bit further on in the future that maybe something bad happened to Addison, or maybe for some reason things didn't work out the way they were supposed to, and Ben needs to fix it. I don't know why Sam wouldn't fix it himself, but maybe he just realizes that Ben is the person who is better suited to be the leaper and more likely to succeed. But yeah, given the fact that, Ben is acting so far out of character and that there's all this new code and new stuff popping up that really shouldn't have been, and that also can't be deciphered by Ian, at least not easily. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's something futuristic going on there. Mm-hmm. It seems like, someone or something is there alongside them, especially because the footage was erased, remember, and that wouldn't be the case unless there was something more going on. I think that there's another leaper like Sam who's, controlling or at least putting things in motion for this new generation of Quantum Leap. What do you think?
Might be Stopa.
Well, maybe, or Inhaler.
Mm-hmm. It could be Inhaler.
Yeah. Or it could be Aaliyah, because we don't know what happened with Aaliyah afterwards. She could still be leaping around. It could be Zoe trying to F everything up, or Thames. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. I'd like to see Zoe on this show. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I know how to contact her. So
yes, so do I. Yeah. Oh, she's great. She always sends me a birthday message. Yeah, she always sends me a birthday message saying, and she always messages something like, "Oh, Lothos tells me there's a 100% chance it's your birthday," or something like that. It's really great.
Yeah. She's an amazing person. So,
I actually think that there may be more to just GTF dubs. There may be GTF dubses with a Sam there, possibly in the acronym now. Yeah, who's helping to control the leaps.
Oh, so you're saying Dr. Sam Beckett leapt into Dr. Ben's song to make him leap?
Yes, or possibly not Addison, or possibly Janice to give Ben all the new information. And
okay. In the original pilot script, Dr. Beckett was working with Janice. So, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's just my theory. Quantum Deep is when we overly analyze things and make our predictions. So that's my prediction. Somewhere along the way, we're going to find out that Sam Beckett's the one that controlled everything in the first place.
I like this Quantum Deep, and I think you opened up something for us to all think about. If you have an opinion on this Quantum Deep, please leave comments down below and let us know what you think. We'll try to read those.
Yeah, and, I know this was a very short Quantum Deep in the grand scheme of things, but hey, I'm a 2-second wonder.
It's a good Quantum Deep. It's a good question, something I never thought about, and definitely that's something that they could do in the future, and it would fit perfectly in there. So that's good.
It definitely seems like there are seeds that are hopefully going to grow into something further down the track. It's been very well thought out by the writers how things are going to be planned out. Better probably even than the first incarnation of Quantum Leap, where it was just a single self-contained episode for the vast majority of the time.
Talking about like different characters from the original series, I have kind of like a wish list of people I'd like to see from the original series that are still around. Not just, Scott Bakula, but other characters that would play into the story, because of course it's not a reboot, it's a sequel series, it's a continuation, it's a season 6, at least spiritually it's a season 6, even though it's a season 1
It's Quantum Leap, the next generation.
Totally. And who would you like to see?
I'd like to see Teresa Bruckner, played by Troy Belisario again.
100%. She needs an episode called Another Mother, where she's a mother and has kids, and maybe Ben leaps into her.
Yeah, possibly, or maybe the father. And it could have even been that Teresa could have taken on the role of Janice, perhaps. That would be a way that I would go about it, if somewhere down the track, off-screen, Al and Teresa have once again reconnected, because he did promise to go back to to her at some point, and and they've stayed somewhat close, and now she's got some reason that needs to be involved in the project as well. I think.
I wonder if that was ever brought up, because they know how to get in contact with Troy and Belisario.
Yeah, be very easy to, I think.
Yeah. No, Mom, I don't want to be in your new TV show.
Well, I don't think she's got much on at the moment because Pretty Little Liars is over.
Mm-hmm. But that was good on her though. That was great.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, if we don't see, that's a great character I'd like to see again. That was one of my first thoughts, was another mother. I think I even messaged Deborah about that. Because I'm offering Serenity to be one of her kids. So
beautiful
in the episode.
Yeah, and another one that I'd love to see is Jane Sabet as Diane Frost, the bounty hunter. Actually, this brings up a bunch of ideas that I had for a bunch of spin-offs that we could have had from Quantum Leap. Like, I would have loved to see a version of, like, the dog played by Jane Sabet. So it'd be interesting to see what she could come up with. I don't know who else.
I want to see Bruce McGill.
Yeah,
he's still around, and I think he's God basically in this universe. So if we don't have Bruce McGill,
well, he's actually Sam's
somewhere,
personification of his ego, but whatever.
Okay, he's whatever, definitely whatever.
Yeah.
So I'd
he
like
falls
to see
under
him.
the whatever. He falls under the dubs.
I would really love to see the LaMotta family again.
Yeah.
It would be great because those were one of the few recurring characters we had in Quantum Leap.
Yes.
And they're all still around, and they're great people, and I think they would do it in a heartbeat. And I would love to see where Jimmy is now. I would love to see where Jimmy is now.
Most definitely.
And then that could also tie in, maybe go back with the Evil Leaper storyline. I don't know. There's so many things they can do.
Yeah,
and,
well, the thing is, the Evil Leapers are supposed to be from the 2020s. So I have a feeling, there's probably going to be some sort of a rogue agent pop up somewhere down the track who's stealing all the secrets from Project Quantum Leap and building this alternate project.
What if, I'm just throwing it out there, because usually there's like a reveal in the end of a season or middle of a season somewhere that somebody that's on our team is actually working for another team. Yeah. What if it's Jen? What if Jen is working with the Evil Leapers?
Yeah, I could see it.
Wow.
I could see it.
I think that would be the only one, really.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be Addison. It wouldn't be Magic.
No.
And
of course it wouldn't be Ben.
I can't see Ian caring enough about anything but the computer. So, yeah, it could be Jen. Or it could even be Janice. Janice would make sense. Yeah. Yeah,
it could be. So Janice is like a computer hacker, and it seemed, and so she was maybe the one that came up with the new Quantum OS operating system.
Yeah, the Lothos. The Lothos. That's where they got the name. I see.
Maybe.
Loth.os.
Wow. Well, I mean, when you think about it, we're a couple of people that are talking about this episode in the new series. We just watched Encounter at Farpoint, the first episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. And so much happened after that. It can go in so many directions that I'm just excited for what we can see happen. But I definitely want to see Donna again. I would love for it to be Terry Hatcher this time.
Yes, I would too.
Because they can go back and forth.
And Susan Dial as Beth.
100%, because if they don't have Sam, and this is about Al's daughter, I think, and we talked to Susan Dial a few times, and she would be willing to reprise the role anytime she said.
In a heartbeat, yeah.
Yeah, and she was really, you have Al and Sam, which are the heart of the show, but that heart is a lot of it is, of course, the love between the friendship of Al and Sam, but also the love of Beth. And MIA is just the pinnacle, I think, of emotion, for me anyway, for the original series. So if we get to see Beth again, and maybe they can use that footage that
that's what I was thinking
that Allison
too.
Found about in a way, and that would be a great way to have Dean in the show.
We
with
know
new
that
footage.
it exists. Yeah.
We've seen it. So thanks to our Quantum Leap archaeologist that's on our team, Allison Pregler. You can check out all of her videos about that subject right here. But they have that, and they have Susan, and wow. Could you imagine seeing Beth again?
Yeah, that would be fantastic. Beth
I mean,
and
I need
Donna
to get
would
my
be
tissues right
great.
now. I'm going to start crying just thinking about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I do think it was very nice that they, did acknowledge Al in the project and the fact that he died last year. So it seems like he died at the moment that Dean Stockwell did. So that that made perfect sense, and and the dedication to him, I'm glad that they did.
I think part of the timing with this, a lot of people seemed upset, maybe people that don't understand what's going on or what was going on, but upset that they waited until after Dean passed to do this show. Because if Dean was still alive, everybody would want Dean to be in the show, at least in a cameo or something. But Dean's health the last decade or so has really failed, and his memory failed, and he wouldn't be in a position at all to do it.
He'd never be able to do it.
No, he'd never even be able to show up. I mean, the NCIS he was on was pretty much the last
I think it was his last ever role, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. As far as I know. So I think now that Dean passed, I think it was the right time to do this and dedicate it to Dean and continue on his lineage with his daughter, which is and the only reason Al has a daughter is because of what Sam did in the final episode, Mirror Image, of the original series. So it way ties in. So I'm saying this is Quantum Leap.
Unless it's a daughter from some other relationship, and he had many.
Oh, he was married 5
Lisa's
times.
Daughter. Yeah, could be Lisa's
that's
daughter.
True. It could be Lisa's. Terry Farrell. It'd be nice to see Terry Farrell. Did she survive in the original show?
Yeah, because remember when
they saved him.
Bingo leapt back and stopped Chip from killing Marcy, that also meant that she didn't end up crying and falling off the cliff.
Mm-hmm. So he had 5 wives, and he went to Niagara Falls
one
with
wife No, hang on. You're not thinking fourth dimensionally here, Albie.
Oh, that's right. He's only got Beth.
He's only had one wife now, yeah.
So he never took the Honeymoon Express to Niagara Falls.
Yes, he did. He took Beth on that one.
Oh, with his first wife, yeah.
First, third,
and fifth. How odd. How odd, a mass joke. That's funny. Overall, I'm going to give this episode 5 out of 5 blue handlings.
Yeah.
I'm
not giving it that many because I thought that they did try to fit too much in there in too short an amount of time. But, maybe probably 4. There wasn't really anything I didn't like apart from the fact that it was too much in too short an amount of time. So, yeah. But being objective, I can't give it a perfect score if it's not perfect.
Those little things that bumped me would have made it like a 4.5 or 4.7, but the excitement and the love I have for the universe added into that makes it like a 6, so I had to go with 5 out of 5.
Yeah,
so it's got a perfect score for me. Not everything's perfect, but we can't focus on a couple little things that was just not to our liking that we expected coming into it. But I think it was a home run, a success. They hit it out of the park. I was not disappointed, and just sitting there watching Quantum Leap tonight was like the best experience I've had in a while.
I didn't think we were ever going to get new Quantum Leap.
No.
I thought that the fan film that we had about Princess Diana was probably the last new thing we'd ever see.
Yeah, that was good. And talking to Deborah and the creators of the show, they always wanted to do something, but there was just something there that it just never seemed to work. And I think a lot of it was, Scott and Dean. Can we do Quantum Leap without Scott and Dean? Apparently we can, because this was Quantum Leap. I'm so glad that Deborah's on the team, Don's on the team. These new guys seem to be really huge fans of Quantum Leap, which means they probably are fans of you and Matt Dale also. So that's how that goes. Yeah.
And it appears like the actors really love the show as well because they're wanting to talk to us about it. So they wouldn't if they didn't like what they were doing.
And speaking of, Caitlin Bassett talks about her love of the original Quantum Leap and that she's doing a watch of it, and she's on season 3 right now. Wow. So that's a great season.
Well, get her to listen to the podcasts alongside.
She was so amazing and so kind to take her time out of filming episode 7 of the new series to talk with Matt Dale, Alison Pregler, Christopher D. Philippus, and I was there too, but I don't say much.
Yeah. So they're filming episode 7 now. That's awesome. And
yeah, she gave us
like
a little bit of a tidbit. Wait till you see it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I like the fact that they've made this an ensemble piece this time, because maybe part of the reason Scott didn't want to be involved was just because he remembers how daunting it was at the time, being on the screen for probably 95% of everything, all those long days, 6 or 7 days a week, and still finding time to help everyone else out, like by disassembling the sets and things like that, having to come up with new accents and new ways to portray the mind merging that he has to go through. And yeah, I can understand why he might just think, no, my time with this is finished. You know, it's perfectly fair, and he's well within his rights to do that. He doesn't owe us anything.
He does not. He's given more of himself to us than anybody else would ever. So yeah, though I'm disappointed, I'm not upset at all, and I completely understand. My instinct tells me that they were trying to make a better deal, and NBC Universal just wouldn't go for that deal. And sometimes negotiations break down, and we still got time.
Yeah, well, that's it. As long as we keep showing that we like this new show and that we want it to keep going, they'll keep it around. Somewhere along the way, you know, Scott might change his mind. It all depends on what's going on in his life, what he wants, what they're willing to pay. But I do like the fact that they do have an ensemble cast this time, because they will be able to put focus on different people and give Raymond a bit of a break, not having to do what Scott
Raymond will be
Bakula
able to rest. No 20-hour days for Raymond, 7 days a week, 6 days a week. So hopefully he has a day off here and there, so they don't burn him out. So, but Raymond seems like a great guy, and Caitlin Bassett is an amazing person. I was so impressed and enamored. I will say it again, enamored by her.
Dibs.
Today when we spoke with her. The girl is mine. The hologram is mine. I think that's a shirt. Yeah. Put that up on the store. The hologram is mine. Yes, she is gorgeous, and I love her hair, and I love everything about her, and I think I have a crush. That's my first official new Quantum Leap crush.
Your first QL crush, apart from Ian.
Apart from Ian, yeah. I'm crushing on Ian, but I'd have to say my biggest crush is Addison, played by Caitlin Bassett. Yeah. So let's go to that interview. I know you've all been waiting and listening to us talk, or they probably fast forwarded through all this just to get to Caitlin's interview. But first, we have to pay the bill. So Hayden, can you tell us a little bit more about pancakes in a can?
Look, are you just sick of mowing the lawn? Are you sick of washing the windows? Do you just have no energy to do anything like that? Well, look no further. Just open up your bottle of Campakes. You don't even have to cook it. You could even just swig it. You'll have the energy to get all your housework done all day, especially if you like sucking on a maple cube.
That's right. Campakes has expanded. It's no longer just Campakes in a can. They have pancake batter in a jar, so you can drink your pancake batter on the go. Now, as Hayden mentioned, with maple cubes. They get caught in my throat sometimes, but because I forget to chew, it's kind of like boba, this cube-shaped boba, but it's really good, those little cubes of maple in that pancake batter. I never thought I'd be enjoying drinking pancake batter, but pancakes in a can, pancake batter beverage has really changed my mind, so please check it out. And you can, if you use our code, Quantum Leap Aftershow, you can get 20% off. So that's pancakes. And it
smells the same coming out as it does going in.
I don't know if we can say that. I don't know. That wasn't on the copy they sent us. So, but yeah.
I'm talking from personal experience here.
Oh, okay. The fine folks at Pancakes in a Can with their new pancake batter beverage with maple cubes. Thank you so much for being a sponsor of the show. We couldn't do it without you. And just contact us. Anybody else want to sponsor the show? But I think we have them for the next few weeks. So it's a product I use and love. Okay, so now that the bills are paid, and again, thank you to Campakes, we will go to Caitlin Bassett's interview that she did with the hosts of the Quantum Leap podcast, Christopher D. Philippus, Matt Dale, and Allison Pregler. This is a good one. Get your popcorn, get your beverages, sit back, relax, and enjoy this interview with Caitlin Bassett. She plays Addison on the new Quantum Leap. Welcome to the Quantum Leap podcast, Caitlin.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here. Well, we are thrilled to have you, and we're really thrilled to learn more about your character, Addison. But first, can you tell the listeners a little bit about you, about your background, and the road that brought you to Quantum Leap? I was doing some research on you, and you're like the real-life Al. There's military intelligence, there's active duty military, there's law school, there's acting, there's horses, there's combat training. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Did I mention bartending?
Yeah, yes, some bartending. I apparently have been training for this role my entire existence. So, yeah, I took the really regular, I think, path to acting, which was Army Law School, Quantum Leap. I think that's trajectory. I mean, I've just been so lucky. I joined the military at 18 years old. I was still in high school. And I spent 7 years in. I deployed a few times, 3 times. I got my degree while I was in. I had a spectacular experience. I was very lucky. I got to work at NSA and on some really cool missions with some really amazing people. It was not something I was going to do forever. That had always, been something I knew. I had been an actor when I was in school and came from a very musical, theater-y family. And it was a mix. Like, my dad was in Vietnam. So we had that aspect. And then we had to me, it all made sense. It wasn't weird to do any of those things. And then, so after, when I was getting out of the Army, I decided to go to law school because that seemed like, the adult thing to do with someone's life. And so I went to New York. My sister lived there. She was producing commercials at the time. She used to be in a band. Like, she's just so cool. She's an oyster farm now. And, in New York where it's so accessible, I was like, oh, well, I could, explore these more creative things about myself because I'm here. I'm in New York. Like, I didn't go to DC. I didn't go to the pipeline, just back to the agencies. And so I started moonlighting in some theater classes and some writing classes, and it just sucked me in. It just really got me. So I ended up going to the Adler Conservatory and have been kind of grinding ever since. And then I just became the luckiest person on the planet to land this job.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you land the job? I understand when we were speaking to Deborah early on, just as all the casting was announced, she was uber impressed by you. And she said that you had won some kind of huge contest. And that's how they got to you. I could be getting that wrong, but
I think she was talking about the ABC Discovers, Disney Discovers talent search. So after theater school, a wonderful woman named Marcy Phillips, who I swear I will buy a house for if I can ever afford it, she has a book. She's a casting director at ABC, has been there forever. She's made a career out of finding new faces. That's been her whole career. And she saw me in a class that she was doing for free, actually, during the pandemic, because she was just trying to give back and give actors something to do. And I'd taken her class. And from that moment, I didn't know this, but she had essentially pre-selected me for the Disney Discovers showcase. And so I went through that process, and I think, upwards of 40,000 people competed for those slots, and 14 got in each coast. And that's a huge career launcher. People from like Chadwick Boseman to Lupita Nyong'o, so many people have been through that showcase. Pedro Pascal, and it's been a jumping off point for wonderful people, and the actors in that were wonderful. So we got like a year of kind of training, and we did the showcase online. It was the first year they'd ever done it online. So it was very glamorous. They sent me a GoPro, and I shot it in the basement of my mother's house, set up on a trash can. Acting is very glamorous. And then from there, she helped me get my manager, and that's the manager that fought me into the room for Quantum Leap. And I knew she did too, because I have 2 managers, a guy and a girl. And normally I get an email from their assistant, if I have an audition. But this one I got from Avi herself at like 11:30 at night. And I was like, oh, you made a phone call for this one. And I got the audition, and I just remember reading it first of all, I flew through the pilot script. I had only meant to read a little bit just to see it, and I just loved it. And I saw the role, and I saw the background for the role, and I was like, I think, really good for this role. And my second immediate thought was like, there's no way they're going to hire me for this. They're never going to hire me for this job. And they did. I did. It was the whole audition process, right? From callbacks to tests. And my last stop was Ray. I did a chemistry test with Ray, I think against somebody else. And I just got real lucky.
Just if you can go into that process just a little bit, because I'm a little bit curious. I know we've had some changes behind the scenes. I'm assuming that the pilot script that you read was the original pilot, the earthquake pilot.
Correct. Yes.
And when you're on something that is, I guess these days, everything is sort of wrapped in NDAs and sort of mysteries. And because it's such a spoiler sensitive environment, I'm surprised they gave you the whole script. Were you only privy to get a few scenes, and then once they wanted to move forward, they gave you more, or how did that work?
Oh, they did they attached the script to that. And I'm so glad they did, because it would have been nigh impossible to do those scenes correctly without the context of what was going on. I mean, how on earth would I have possibly guessed what was happening?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did. And I'm really glad they did. It was incredibly helpful.
If you can go into that a little bit more. So you guys had done a complete pilot episode that Deborah told us about. You had done a cut, a director's cut, a producer's cut, then you'd sent it off to the network, and everybody seemed happy with it. And then weeks later, we hear that they decided to switch it up and make a new pilot episode, which is the one that just aired. Can you tell us what that was like? Did you guys have to turn that one around quicker? Was there a lot more that you had to take from what is now going to be episode 6, ostensibly, I suppose,
yes,
and sort of rework it into the new pilot?
Well, I think I'm glad they did this. Having done both pilots, I think the world is just introduced a bit better in this. Not that the pilot failed to do it. They just had a different way they wanted to open the show. And as you've seen it, they really wanted, because in the first pilot, there wasn't the engagement scene where you got to see the family before the fissure. And I think that's really important, to see what we were before Ben does what he does and kind of rips us apart. And we all have to kind of grapple with that in our own ways. So that's really like what they changed, along, some other small stuff. But like the process of doing it again was honestly kind of nice, because we had, instead of knowing each other for 2 days before filming an episode, we had known each other and had been texting and had been, on these fun group chats for months at that point. We had gone through waiting for a show to get approved, which is it's a bonding experience. It is. We are all praying. So the second time we went at it, we had all of these like lived in relationships that I think you saw more. We weren't trying to find them quite as much. You started to see like Mason and I have a banter that's just so fun, and we just adore each other in real life. There's just things, and Jen is just the warmest person, Nanrissa. So there's just these really cool things that we found through time, which I'm so grateful for. And yeah, they rolled in the new pilot production into so we just started. They took a couple production days from episode 6, which is the pilot now, that we obviously have to get, because a lot of the crap I said was world explaining, which is now way too late. So a lot of me has changed. All of HQ has changed, because we're in the thick of it now. But the leap itself, the earthquake, that's all there. I get to work with Jewel again, who is our first co-star. They're flying her in, which I'm so excited. She's a sci-fi legend too, with everything she's done in her life. So it's just, I've seen it as nothing but the most exciting thing, that we just have this opportunity. And yeah, we did steal a couple days. So we shot the original pilot in I want to say 14 days. We shot the second pilot in 12. And then all the rest of our productions are 8-day schedules.
Okay.
I'm curious, with the opportunity to approach Addison's introduction again, did you take a different path at the way you were approaching the character?
I don't think so much, because I still kind of believed, especially in the first one, and you guys saw the pilot or the new pilot. There's an element of what just happened, like when a bone breaks and like the pain almost hasn't set in yet. Like, what just happened? I'm still grappling with that through much of it. And so other than like what's wonderful about the relation and sitting in the relationships more and like leaning on them for comfort and support and love, which we definitely did in 101 much more. We had a wonderful opportunity, but for grappling with, because this is the first time Addison's been in the Leap just as much as Ben's been in the Leap. And she's still like, when things come at her, it's natural to think it's going to hit you. You don't realize, it's not instinctually, you're not ready for it to go through you like a hologram. It's just, she's learning how to be in it, which I'm so excited as time's going to go on, because I know everyone, to include me, just is devastated over the loss of Dean Stockwell. And his Al was so fun. And the Alan Sam relationship was so fun. But even in the beginning, there was that time where they were still trying to figure it out. They were still trying to like, oh, what is happening? It's not safe yet. It's not, we're not at a place where we think everything's going to be okay. It's still very, there's an anxiousness to it. And then as the season goes on and as Ben and Addison get more comfortable in Leaps, just like as Al and Sam got more comfortable with Leaps, that's when you start to have all this space for fun. And, there's never going to be another Dean Stockwell. He was one of the best American actors of all time. I can't be better than Dean ever was. And I can't outdo Dean being Dean. There's never going to be that. So we had to have a different relationship. And what's great is that Ben isn't exactly Sam. And so we get to be something different. But what that heart of like, I'm very invested. Addison's so invested in the outcome, obviously. She loves Ben. This is her family. This is her life. And like, these are all exciting and we have jobs to do. But there is an aspect of like me being able to have my little popcorn sometimes and be like, oh, this looks tough for you. You should figure that out, and I think that's once we get past these like first, one or two, once we start to establish what this show is and we can settle into more of the fun of it, I think that's when, especially like the Quantum Leap fans, the ones that mourn Dean as much as I do, will start to see that yumminess again.
Hmm. One thing that I wanted to maybe circle back on, one thing that I noticed and that we've discussed on the podcast before the interview played, they went very quickly through the basic premise, the setup. It seemed like this was a pilot that was set up for a more general audience, just to reintroduce the concept without dwelling too much on the geek stuff, on the science stuff, on the leap stuff. Do you have little moments as the series progresses over the next few episodes where you linger a little bit more on those aspects just to explain them more fully?
Yeah. Yep. We had to get through them in the pilot because they really wanted, like Martin just said it in the TCA panel, they wanted this show to have a low bar of entry so that you didn't have to have watched all the seasons of Quantum Leap to enjoy this. But just like, you're going to we have more space and time for the relationship. We also have more space and time for like the nerd side of Quantum Leap, which I am particularly excited about. And that's so much of Ian. And like so much of me and Ian, and Ian's working on things, and I'm kind of like, can you English, and then, and that's fun. And yeah, so you're going to see a lot more of that.
That's great. That's the stuff that the fans really want to see. And from the way you're speaking about it, it seems like you were a fan of the original series. How much did you know about the old Quantum Leap before getting the job?
Totally. I was aware of it, but I was just a little under the age group, I think. Belisario at that point was making Jag, and that was a household watch in our, of course it was. I was in the Army and then I went to law school. So somebody watched Jag. Somebody grew up on Jag. But my dad was a huge fan, and he had watched it with my older siblings. I have two half siblings. And they were 10 and 13 years older. So they'd watched it. So I've now gone back and watched, I want to say I'm in episode 3, season 3. And still working my way through. And it's like sometimes I have to stop because I'm like, Dean's so good. I'm like, I can't do that. I have to do me. It's just he's too good. He's too good at what he does. But it's really for the fans. I think it's such a wonderful fan base, and they loved it for the right reasons. So, I feel like it's part of my job to work as much as I can and really study Dean's work and honor him. And I talk to Deborah about him all the time. And Deborah, we're very sad because Deborah always says, I'm like, I think I would like Dean. And she goes, you would. And he would have loved you. And it just it's sad because, I wish I had met him. But I'll do my best.
I think it's great that you want to honor his legacy, but also do your own thing. And I think that's the best way to approach it because, it's not trying to be the old show. It's trying to be its own thing, but still honor the legacy of the show. And I think that's a great way to blend both worlds together.
Thank you.
And to just extrapolate on that a little bit, you had mentioned before about how great it was to be able to reshoot so that you got a sense of the family before the family was broken and what these people meant to each other. We almost joined you in media res, everybody knows each other. Yeah. And you guys had moments where we could tell that you're all old friends. Does the show explore a little bit about sort of the continuation from the old project? Because Sam is invoked, Al is invoked. So it's very much a season 6, not just a reboot. Do we get to see how this team came together, how you built this whole new version of Project Quantum Leap in California? Is that going to be peppered in?
It is. But before we get to that, they're really wrestling with why'd Ben do it? And as stuff starts to come out about that, that's kind of what I like to call the nearest alligator. That's the thing closest. So that's kind of what we're doing first. But all of that's sprinkled. And we're going to get that, and we'll get deeper into that. We definitely have to get it with magic. And they already have. They already shot, a good establishment of that. We can't pretend it's a big surprise now.
Yeah.
So yes, it's coming, but there's a lot of good stuff to get to before that, which is absolutely, like you said, a long awaited season 6.
Right. So I guess what I'm inferring from what you're saying there is that a lot of times in shows, especially, like say Star Trek or whatever these days, the whole season seems to revolve around one central mystery that drives the plot and the story forward. Or are you telling me that sort of the why Ben leaped is going to be only a small part of this season? The whole season's not going to hinge on them trying to figure it out, or it's going to be resolved a little sooner?
That's definitely the big question. And what I'm saying is that you are going to get some of your continuations whilst we try and answer that question. And
fair enough.
Yeah.
Carefully answered.
Carefully.
Thank you. Doing my best.
So, as the observer, you get to handle probably the most iconic piece of tech on the show, which is the hand link. And the hand link that we saw in this premiere episode is so vastly different from the original, but it has some of the same functions. It's a locator primarily. It's a conduit to Sam. It's also a holographic projector. Will future episodes give that more of a spotlight? Will we be able to see a bit more of what this new hand link can do?
Yes. I think not for the first few. What am I about to shoot? Hang out for 7.
Okay. Interesting.
And is it?
It's funny because the hand link from the first pilot and the hand link from the second pilot are different, so we kind of had to deal with that.
You got my next question.
Yeah.
And I just shot that, and yeah, I certainly nodded to Dean whilst dealing. You'll see. Yeah, the hand link. That was more of like a practical thing. We just had to make that make sense. Why does that look so different? But yeah, it's you'll see. It's exciting. It made me, when I read it, I was like, okay, that made me excited.
Cool.
Look, I'm just stoked, okay? I'm not great at the interview stuff. I will be upfront about this. I'm just stoked. I'm really stoked about this new show. You know, there's lots of exciting things coming up, and I'm really glad that we're able to talk to you about it. Like, and I'm glad to see your enthusiasm about it as well.
Oh, I'm so pumped. I mean, I'm really excited to talk to the fans because I know I'm as heartbroken as they are of the loss of Dean. And so like, I just, you know, let's just try it. Just try it out. Just try it on.
Yeah.
We're working for it.
The fans are ready for something new, and it's very clear that everyone involved cares so much about this. Everything we've seen in interviews so far, the passion that you're showing right now seems to be shared by everyone, and that's just that's going to come through, and it came through in episode 1, definitely. We could tell. It's a strong start,
and it'll just get. It just, like I said, the more space we have, the calmer the story gets, and the more space we have, the more you'll see it.
I would be remiss to not ask this because I think our listeners would string me up. Might there be a trip to a long defunct Project Quantum Leap somewhere in the deserts of New Mexico as the series goes on?
I haven't seen it yet, but we shall see.
Fair enough. Are there any other tidbits that we haven't talked about that you can maybe drop? And if not, I understand.
No. But it's it. Like they're layering this story in with so much that I think people are going to be really excited about. That does make it a long-awaited season 6. So, yeah, give us a good shot. We're doing the best we can to make this like a great Quantum Leap sequel and not just, you know, a brand new version of some old IP.
We understand you did the pilot in Vancouver. You've got a 12-episode run that you're shooting at the moment and waiting to hear about a further 9. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. So we drop on Monday, and then, you know, our guess is we'll hear in the next month or so. But, yeah, we'll see.
Well, what I'm hearing is guaranteed 12 episodes of Quantum Leap is what I'm hearing. So
that's also what I heard.
Yeah. Who thought we'd be here? So yeah.
How can anyone be mad about 12 more episodes? There's some people that are just against, you know, doing anything else. How can they be mad? You get more. You get more.
Right?
Like it or don't, you get the option.
Sure.
Right? Well, you have been more than generous with your time, Caitlin. Is there any aspect of the show or the character of Addison that we haven't touched upon that you'd like to discuss, that you'd like to expand upon?
I don't think so right now. I think we're gonna explore it in the show, and I'd like to, hopefully talk to you guys again after a few more episodes or after this season, and we can kind of see where we are there, because I think that'll be.
Yeah, that's our master plan. We're inviting you back right now after the season is over, so we can talk about everything.
Yes. No vaccines.
It will be an extravaganza. So. Well, all right. Again, Caitlin, thank you so much for joining us today on the Quantum Leap podcast. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
Wow. I know. We made a podcast and now we have the hologram
One of the
on our
main
show.
stars.
Yes, the main star, her and Ben.
We've had Scott Bakula. We've had Don Belisario. We've had Deborah Pratt. We've had countless other guest stars. And now we've got the main hologram. Oh, all right.
Addison.
I think we can say that the Quantum Leap podcast is legit.
We're legit. We're not official, but we're legit. We got street cred. We got nerd cred.
Yeah.
We had a hologram on our show.
Oh, yes. And she even appeared as a hologram, didn't she?
Yeah, she was on a blue screen, so I mean, we could totally make her a hologram in post at some point. But she was so gracious and giving of her time, and it was just amazing how you could tell that she has love for the original series and so much respect for the people in the original series and Dean Stockwell, and she just impressed me so well, and her offering to come back on the show at the end of the season, even better. So we could talk about more because we have only seen the first episode when we spoke to her. So
absolutely. And handlinks, episode 7, handlinks.
Episode 7, handlinks. I don't know if you've been following everything on the Quantum Leap podcast, but we know the people that make the fan-made versions that are as good or better than the original Gummy Bear handlinks. And we just happen to know that Deborah Pratt ordered 2 of them. And if you like handlinks, you might want to watch episode 7. I'm doing the math in my head, but I'm seeing we might see Prop Replica's Gummy Bear handlink in episode 7.
Well, at
That
least
is a
2 of them are left in the
moment.
past anyway, so it would make sense that 2 of them might show up.
I'm hoping it'll be that one and not the yellow and blue one, the faded yellow and blue one, which I think they're originally going to go for. But that whole rushed overnight service of 2 hand links to Deborah, that might come into play in episode 7.
Yeah.
And if I see that on screen, me being a fan of Quantum Leap and just being part of that whole arrangement and thing will just make me say, hey, I'm a part of history now. Without us talking to her and connecting everybody, maybe that wouldn't have happened. You never know.
You're just Albie.
I'm Albie.
That's all that you need. Hey, if you ever speak to Ernie Hudson, do you realize you're going to be Bert and Ernie?
Bert and Ernie. Who's Bert? Oh, I'm Albert. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, you don't know your own name.
Nope. Because I go by Albie all the time, like Cheryl. Is she Cheryl? I'm not sure. I'm thinking. Wow. So I can't think of a better way to end the first episode of the Quantum Leap After Show than with that interview with Caitlin Bassett. And we have many more interviews to come. Next week on the show, I don't know if I want to spoil it, but do you know who we got next week? You know who we got next week, Hayden?
No, I don't. You need to tell me.
Are you ready for this one?
Yeah.
As cool. Mason Alexander Park.
Oh, Ian themselves.
So you definitely want to subscribe and hit the bell, notification bells, like this video, and so you get notified when we have more video content coming out. And you'll want to see that interview with Mason Alexander Park. I'm super excited for that. It doesn't get better than this. It really doesn't, except for a few weeks after that, but we'll save that for then, okay?
Ooh. And the next episode, Ben is an astronaut.
Oh, shit! On the Space Shuttle Atlantis, which I've seen in person. Have you ever seen a Space Shuttle in person there, Hayden?
No, I live in Australia.
It's not as big as a cruise ship, but when you see it, you're like, how did they make something this big? How did humans make something this big? It's like ants that build a house. It doesn't make sense in my brain. But
and
Space
how do they make it
Atlantis,
fly too?
yeah. I understand lift, but I still don't understand heavy. Up makes no sense.
Yeah.
But gravity's a weak force, they say.
Well, it's only 9.8 meters per second, and that's only on Earth. So.
Ben plays an astronaut who has to save the ill-fated fate of the space shuttle Atlantis. I know I will tune in for that one.
So it sounds like they're trying to bring more real-world elements in as well, like really amping up the rubber band history, saying, we do live in Ben Song's universe. We live in the universe where the Hope Diamond wasn't stolen, and we live in the universe where Atlantis didn't blow up.
Yeah, because that was devastating when Atlantis blew up, but now thanks to Ben, it doesn't.
Yeah.
So it's sitting in a museum.
Fantastic.
Museum, hangar, a big bay. A building built around a space shuttle. I'm sure they built that building around the space shuttle because there's no way to get it in the door. No way. But it's at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. If you get a chance to go see it, just check it out. It was pretty amazing. So I'm me being a space nerd and a Quantum Leap nerd. I'm excited about next week's episode.
Yeah. Natasha Pavlovich, who played Marina Oswald in Lee Harvey Oswald, she went up in one of the space shuttles.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Tell me more.
Well, listen to the interview. She talks all about it.
Did I do the interview? Who did the interview?
No, I think Chris might have done that one. But
okay,
yeah.
I missed that
Lee
one.
Harvey Oswald episode of the podcast. Go and have a listen.
One of my favorite episodes. So
yeah. Well, what assassin is Ben going to leap into is the question.
John Wilkes Booth. I think somebody called that.
You know what I reckon
internet.
He could be? I don't know if they can do this respectfully, but I reckon he might end up on the plane on 9/11 that was supposed to hit the White House that didn't. Ben, I reckon, prevented it.
Wow. Yeah, you gave me chills. It's very. There's some subjects that I don't think they should touch, but you never know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's been enough time for other people.
Maybe.
But we'll see.
Well, in one of the telemovies that they were planning on doing, they were planning on doing part of the leaps in 9/11.
Okay.
So they could do it.
So you never know. People will definitely watch. They'd have to really do it well, because there's a lot of loss and emotion there. So, but Ben saving the day and not letting it crash into the White House, I could see that as a good ending.
Yeah. Let's hope they just don't do it the way that Family Guy did, where we've got in the ads Stewie and Brian cheering that they caused 9/11, and then Stewie says, "Well, that would sound so horrible out of context." because in the episode they prevented 9/11, caused a new civil war, and so they had to go back and make sure it happened.
Yeah, who knows what timeline we'd be living in without that. So
21 years ago.
Wow, has it been that long?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So overall thoughts of episode 1 so far, I'm going to say this is my favorite episode of the new series. The top,
Yeah, it's the
and
cream
I really
of the crop.
enjoyed it. I was impressed. I love it. I can't wait for more.
It holds up with the original Quantum Leap.
It does. It does. In some ways improves upon it, and in some ways is just a continuation. And I never thought I'd see New Quantum Leap, and we're living in a timeline where we're seeing New Quantum Leap. And I want to thank everybody that actually got together to make this New Quantum Leap. Everybody behind the scenes, the writers, producers, Deborah, Don, NBC Universal for making this happen. A lot of things had happened for this to happen, and I'm just so glad. It makes sense. It makes sense. Quantum Leap is such a good property.
Well, the
Why
world
not continue
needs
it?
Quantum Leap.
Especially right now.
Yeah.
Especially right now.
The last time I interviewed Deborah was on the Starbright project a little while ago, and she asked me, what would I like to see if Quantum Leap was ever brought back? And I said, I don't really mind, just as long as it does come back and sticks around. But she said, that there's so many properties around that are very similar to Quantum Leap. There's obvious demand for it. And I said, well, if that's the case, and I agree with you, it is the case, why don't they just bring Quantum Leap back if they want something so much like it? And she actually said to me, I say the exact same thing every time I meet with them. So looks like they finally listened to her.
Well, now we find out that it's come out that they've been working on it for the last few years.
Yeah.
So, and they for the longest time they were working with Scott. So, so we'll see. No one knows what the future holds except for people at Project Quantum Leap.
Yeah. Well, look, Scott's not going to be in it for a while, but I think we can still hold out hope that he will show up somewhere down the track.
I was heartbroken when I read what he said, but I think in the future there is a possibility because, I mean, why not? They have to do it right, though. And I think the showrunners and writers and producers of the new Quantum Leap, I think those are the people that can write something for Scott Bakula as Sam Beckett and do it very respectfully and meaningful. So we have all the ingredients there. And look, like I said, I didn't think we'd ever get new Quantum Leap. So for people that don't think we're going to get Sam Beckett back, I think it might happen. We'll have to see. So make sure you tune in next week to NBC and on Peacock. Upgrade your Peacock subscription. Get the commercial free level like I do, so you can watch Quantum Leap and get those numbers up. Make sure it's the NBC's new #1 hit show, Quantum Leap. I want to see that in the trailers. So make sure you watch it and then rewatch it and watch it again and tell your mom and your friends and your family to watch it. Call up your buddy and tell him, hey, the new Quantum Leap's awesome. You got to check it out on Peacock. Get the subscriptions up, and then we'll have plenty more Quantum Leap for years to come.
Did you see that meme that's been floating around? It said, it's got a screenshot of, I think it's Morty from Rick and Morty, and he's in bed with two sexy ladies, but he's looking really depressed, and someone's written on it, set up for Peacock and chill, but just wanted to watch Quantum Leap.
Yep, yeah. I think that's it's a perfect meme because I think I would pick Quantum Leap over the ladies. I just got to say. So,
at least first.
All right. So thank you so much, Hayden McQueenie, for joining me.
I'm
for
very
this
keen
first,
to be back.
Oh, yeah, I definitely want you back. I was just going to say that. So I appreciate you being on this first episode of the Quantum Leap Aftershow.
Yeah. Well, we've had so much to talk about. You haven't even had a chance to talk about my bandana
your
at
Kiss
all.
concert.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they
concert
sing Rock
I've
the
ever
Redhead?
been to.
Did they sing? Did they sing anything
that
like that?
wasn't Kiss. That was King Thunder.
Fate's Wide Wheel, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
Rock
look,
the Redheads.
Sam definitely leapt into one of them to ensure that it happened. So, and I'm glad that it did. The very last concert they will ever do in Australia.
Really? Oh.
Yeah.
Hopefully they come around here. I'd love for Serenity
They
and I
are.
to go see them.
I think it's October. They're doing the
Oh,
last
perfect.
few in America.
Perfect.
So you'll have to get on Ticketmaster or whatever
October,
it is.
October, I'm seeing Kevin Smith and possibly Weird Al. So I don't know if I can fit Kiss into there. But if they come local, then
You got to do it. Trust me. Best concert ever. And the pyrotechnics and the lasers and I mean they're
Did they
all
sing
in their
Beth?
70s and 80s. They're all in their 70s and 80s and they rock like they're still in their 20s. So
Did they sing Beth?
I think they did, yeah.
Okay, cool. Then I'll pay.
Yeah.
And I'll pay the tickets. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd really like to thank everyone that was part of this program. I'd like to thank the hosts of the Quantum Leap podcast, Matt Dale, Christopher D. Philippus, and Allison Pregler for being such a great part of it. I'd like to thank our guests, Leo Suh and Miley Dudek and Don Estrada. And especially, I'd like to thank Caitlin Bassett for being part of this show and letting us all know about what's going on at Project Quantum Leap and what her thoughts on Quantum Leap was. That was an amazing start to this after show. Make sure you tune in to Quantum Leap Mondays at 10 p.m. on NBC, and then watch it again on Peacock. And then after you've done all that, come to YouTube and watch us talk about what we all just watched together. Okay? So I'm looking forward to next week.
And if you're in America, find a way to rip it and send it to your friends from overseas who might not have access to it yet.
There is very little distribution worldwide right now that people are worried, but I'm sure it'll pop up soon. Deals will be made. So right now you can watch it on Peacock, and there are many ways to watch Peacock around the world.
Can you
as
say
long as
that
you
a
pay
bit
for
better,
it.
Albie? Albie, can you say that a bit
There
better?
are many ways to watch Peacock around the world if you're technically savvy.
VPNs.
But Yes, VPNs are good because you still have to pay for it. So there you go. So give NBC Universal your money so they can make more of these shows. So if you happen to be living in a different country, that's between you and the internets. So, but there are many ways to watch it, and it's worth the watch. We don't believe in piracy, so try to go to do it through Peacock if you can. And,
Yar, matey.
Yar. Talk Like a Pirate Day. I know it premiered on Talk Like a Pirate Day. How's that? Arr. What's a pirate's favorite restaurant? Arby's. No, you would think it was, but it's actually Long John Silver.
Why are pirates pirates? Because they are.
Why? How much does it cost to get a pirate to get his ears pierced?
I don't know.
A buccaneer.
Could just be a sword.
Pirate dad jokes. All right. One time I had a request for pirate jokes from Rennie, so I had to read a book.
Awesome.
So thank you all for joining us, and we'll be here each and every week after Quantum Leap premieres. So watch the episodes and then come hang out with us, and we'll have a good time. For the Quantum Leap podcast, I'm Albie.
And I'm MC Queenie himself.
And we'll see you next time. Get leaping.